Chapter 151. All the Blood Clan members lowered their heads, but their ears were pricked up. So this was the reason why Princess Brooke had avoided men for so many years. The Blood Clan had never abstained from sex, and men and women were not a big deal. Some of the female Blood Clan members were even thinking about how to recommend themselves to Nightingale Castle. Li Wen's expression turned ugly. He looked at Gu Xingyin and said coldly, "Catherine, I was the one who took a liking to her first." Gu Xingyin looked at him strangely. Was Linwen angry? That shouldn't be the case. Logically speaking, Owen had only treated Rita as a tasty prey. Since she had asked for Rita, there was no reason for him to be angry. Could it be that she had miscalculated and Linwen had taken a liking to her now? However, she would not give up. Well, isn't it still up to this lovely lady to decide for herself? Gu Xingyin lowered her body and moved closer to Rita. Then, lovely lady, are you willing to accept my embrace and become the blood descendant of me, Catherine Brooke, and become a noble member of the Brooke family? Even the breaths of the Blood Clan members were slightly cold. However, this slight coldness caused Rita's ears to heat up. She mustered her courage and looked up at Gu Xingyin, but she was caught in a pair of deep, dark golden eyes. Those eyes seemed to contain magic, and Rita felt that her soul was about to fall into them. I'm willing. Before Rita could say the word willing, she felt herself falling into a familiar embrace. It was Owen. She heard the incomparably beautiful woman sigh softly. Rita almost broke free from Owen's embrace because of this sigh. She ran to her side and covered her mouth. Rita's heart was about to break when she heard this sigh. Enough, Catherine the Great. Linwen seemed to be a little irritated. Don't you think it's beneath you to use your seduction on an ordinary human? Gu Xingyin sighed. She had planned to turn Rita into a Blood Clan member before she could do so. This way, as her blood descendant, Rita would no longer have the opportunity to deal with her. This could be considered a permanent solution. Everything went smoothly, but he didn't expect Liwen to be so uncooperative. She straightened up and looked at Liwen. It's not like you to be so petty, Liwen. Owen regained his composure and let go of Rita. He smiled and said, I'm not being stingy. In front of so many vampires, what will happen to the McAvoy clan's reputation if you embrace my chosen bloodline? Gu Xingyin thought to herself, who are you trying to fool? Even if these people were gossiping to death in their hearts, they would never have the guts to spread the news that His Highness the Prince did not want others to know. Gu Xingyin rolled her eyes and knew that it was impossible to change Rita's mind. She could use force, but that wasn't Catherine's style. It would also arouse Livingston's suspicions and make him more interested in Rita. Then, how are you going to make it up to me? Liwen, I'm not in a good mood now. Gu Xingyin walked to a chair at the side and sat down lazily. Liwen looked at this woman. He had never realized that this woman who only knew how to fight had such a lazy and sexy side to her. Everyone in my castle of night, except Rita. You can pick anyone you like. How about that? Chapter 152. Liwen was in a good mood as he looked at Catherine with furrowed brows. His gaze swept across the vampires in the banquet hall. Many of them were looking at her eagerly, hoping to catch the eye of the princess. However, Princess Brooke closed her eyes as if she was sensing the people in the castle. Then, she opened her eyes and said to Liwen, the man who walked into the castle of darkness and was tied up by your people is him. Her tone was casual, as if she was taking away a cat or a dog. Liwen didn't mind and agreed readily. In an instant, he contacted the guards who were escorting the human who had broken into the castle of darkness and brought him over. However, he regretted it the moment he stepped into the banquet hall. This human. He actually had an appearance that was not inferior to any of the blood breeds. Most importantly, he gave off a feeling that was like the warmest sunlight. The more they couldn't have something, the more they would be obsessed with it. This was the common trait of all living creatures. The vampires who couldn't see the light from birth had the ambition to embrace the sunlight. It was no wonder that Catherine, who didn't like humans, chose him. Lancelot's gaze was fixed on one person the moment he stepped into the banquet hall. It was her. Although this woman looked different from the woman in his dreams, his strong feeling told him that she was the one he was looking for. Gu Xingyin was in a good mood as her lover stared at her with such passion. However, on the surface, she looked at Lancelot with a look of disdain. Your looks are all right, but your strength is a little too weak. Lancelot was taken away by Gu Xingyin under Li Wen's gentle smile. Beautiful lady, let me introduce myself. I am Lancelot Ryan. Lancelot stared at Gu Xingyin. Gu Xingyin glanced at him lazily. Do you know that you are now my possession? Who allowed you to speak to me in such a tone? That's right, she wanted to prank him. Thanks to the vampire's powerful sixth sense, she sensed the lotus fragrance on Lancelot's body the moment he appeared in the Dark Knight Castle's territory. She waited for the man's expression to change. Who would have thought that Lancelot's face would be filled with excitement and even a little shyness? Your belongings. Does my entire being belong to you? So, how should I address you? My master. Gu Xingyin. Why are the lovers in this world so shameless? If the people of the Ryan family heard this, it was estimated that they would spit out a mouthful of blood, and then immediately cultivate a new heir. It was too shameful. In the end, Gu Xingyin managed to maintain her image. She looked at the fearless Lancelot in surprise. Do you know who I am? Lancelot shook his head sincerely. Gu Xingyin's lips curled into an evil smile. Vampires feed on the blood of ordinary people. Have you heard of that? Lancelot's expression immediately turned ugly. Gu Xingyin thought that he was afraid, but the man suddenly said, I know about vampires. I heard that when you suck the blood of humans, that person will feel the pinnacle of pleasure. He stared at Gu Xingyin and asked, have you ever made others feel this way before? Before Gu Xingyin could say anything, he suddenly stood up and leaned over to look at Gu Xingyin. He said domineeringly, no matter what happened in the past, from now on, you can only suck my blood. No one else. Chapter 153. From now on, you will be my valet. After saying these words, Catherine left Lancelot to the butler of Nightingale Castle. The strict and old-fashioned butler would teach him well how to be a qualified valet. It's time for you to get up, my master. A gentle voice woke Gu Xingyin from his deep sleep. She opened her eyes and saw Lancelot's face. The young master of the Ryan family, being a small valet in my castle, don't you feel unreconciled? Lancelot shook his head honestly. How could he not be reconciled? As long as he could stay by her side and see her every day, it was already the most wonderful thing in the world for him. Young Master Ryan was not a reserved master. He looked at his master affectionately and said, it is my honor to be your personal servant. Who would have thought that Gu Xingyin's face would turn cold? She looked at Lancelot with an oppressive gaze. Why? Don't tell me you fell in love with me because of my face. Lancelot opened his mouth and said, I did fall in love with you at first sight. Before Gu Xingyin could become unhappy, he continued to say, but it wasn't the day before yesterday, it was in a dream. In the dream, there were many different shadows, but I was sure that they were the same person. And the moment I saw you, I knew that person was you. Gu Xingyin was sure that this man wasn't lying. Could it be that he still had memories of the previous world? She was somewhat happy. She hoped that one day, her lover could be like her, able to recognize her at a glance. After thinking for a moment, Gu Xingyin stretched out her hand and a long sword appeared in her hand. Unlike the swords in the hands of the knights of this world, this sword's appearance was clearly the appearance of the 3-feet-long Qingfeng mountain in the world of immortal cultivation. This is it. Lancelot stared at the sword in Gu Xingyin's hand. The sword I saw in the dream had this strange appearance. Gu Xingyin thought of something and said to Lancelot, "Come here." She placed her hand on Lancelot's pulse and felt it inch by inch. Lancelot's face turned red. This was too fast. He wasn't ready yet. However, if she really wanted to, what are you thinking about? A cold voice interrupted his chaotic thoughts. Lancelot came back to his senses and found that Gu Xingyin had already let go of his hand. He suppressed the regret in his heart and smiled embarrassedly. Gu Xingyin was just feeling Lancelot's bones. Because she didn't have any tools in this world, she couldn't test the level of his sword heart. He could only use the method of feeling his bones to determine if he was suitable to become a sword cultivator. A high-level swordsman had a long lifespan. She did not want to change him, but she wanted to stay with him forever. Gu Xingyin sat in front of the long table, but didn't see the blood that usually appeared in front of her table. She heaved a sigh of relief. Now that she was cultivating the way of the sword, she had already reached the level where she didn't need to eat to maintain her bodily functions. Therefore, the weakness of bloodlings who didn't drink blood didn't affect her. Lancelot walked to her side and squatted down. "I said before that I don't want you to consume other people's blood, even if you don't drink it yourself. I'm willing to provide you with the freshest blood." He raised his head, revealing his weak and defenseless neck. Chapter 154. Gu Xingyin had a very strange feeling. She hated blood. In the past, no matter how much fresh blood the housekeeper of Nightingale Castle brought her, she only felt the smell of blood and never felt any temptation. But today was different. She looked at the gently pulsating blood vessels under Lancelot's white skin. The world's most delicious blood was flowing inside. An uncontrollable desire spread from the bottom of her heart. She wanted to drink his blood and even transform him. This impulse was too strong. When Gu Xingyin was alerted by the system in her mind, she found that her fangs had already been exposed and were pressing against the man's neck. She closed her eyes, retracted her fangs, and gently licked with her tongue. The man's body shook and his breathing suddenly became heavy. Seeing the woman get up, Lancelot was somewhat puzzled. "Why didn't you bite down?" He clearly felt that there was something hard against his neck, but she stopped at the last moment. Gu Xingyin didn't speak. She took Lancelot to a room and let him attack her with all his strength. Lancelot was somewhat puzzled. Gu Xingyin only said one sentence to dismiss him: "I just want to know if my valet has the ability to protect himself when I am attacked." She didn't say whether he could protect her, but whether he could protect himself. Lancelot had heard of the rumors of the vampires. These days, when he got along with Gu Xingyin, he could also feel the great power contained in her body. He didn't speak anymore. He pulled out the sword at his waist and rushed towards Gu Xingyin. However, even when he was gasping for breath, he couldn't even touch the corner of Gu Xingyin's clothes. Lancelot was frustrated. He had always been proud of his strength, but he didn't expect that he, who was already considered a strong human, would be so powerless in front of the vampires. Gu Xingyin's words made him even more uncomfortable. "With your strength, you can only deal with some low-level vampires. Even if it's just a small count, you won't be a match for him." Of course, he knew what kind of person the woman he liked was. In the entire vampires, she was the highest existence. He didn't deserve her. "Do you need me to convert you?" Gu Xingyin slowly walked over and whispered in his ear. It was extremely tempting. "As long as I transform you, you will immediately obtain great power." Lancelot was tempted for a moment. "No." His eyes quickly became firm. He looked at Gu Xingyin and said, "If I am transformed by you and become your blood descendant, I will never be worthy of you in this lifetime." Gu Xingyin was a little surprised, and then she laughed. Yes, this person had been so submissive to her these days that she almost forgot how prideful he was. How could he tolerate this? "Well, you know. If you don't want to be transformed by me, a human's lifespan is only a mere 100 years, but I am immortal. Gu Xingyin looked at him coldly. She looked at the man's confused eyes and decided not to tease him anymore. Something was thrown in front of Lancelot. It was that strange-looking sword. Since you don't want to be transformed by me, then use this sword to prove it. Gu Xingyin looked at Lancelot and said, I will teach you how to become a swordsman. If you are talented enough, you might be able to surpass me one day. Because he was her lover, she could tell him without any reservations and didn't have to worry that he would be disloyal. Chapter 155. As Gu Xingyin had expected, Lancelot's talent was so good that it was simply astonishing. Heroine had been coming to Nightingale Castle from time to time, which made Gu Xingyin a little annoyed. Heroine, is your McAvoy family so free these days? Gu Xingyin said coldly. The fellow sitting in front of the chair did not seem to understand that his master did not welcome him and said leisurely, I'm here to see my fiancée. What, is there a problem? Gu Xingyin sneered. She also found a chair and sat down with an elegant posture. Heroine, we both know about our engagement. What is going on? Just like in the past thousands of years, you play with your lover, I live my life. Everyone is at peace with each other. Otherwise, I will unilaterally announce the cancellation of the engagement with you. Catherine, we have known each other for so many years. How can you be so heartless? Heroine played with the sparkling and translucent crystal cup in his hand and smiled gently, if one ignored the cold light that flashed in his eyes because of Gu Xingyin's words. A prince of the blood clan appearing in my castle has seriously affected the normal life of Nightingale Castle. Okay, I was wrong. If I miss you in the future, I will definitely inform you in advance. How about it? Heroine said helplessly. Put away your affectionate appearance, Heroine. I am not one of your little lovers. I won't fall for it. Tell me, what has happened recently? Heroine glanced at her, seemingly surprised. Gu Xingyin glanced at him. If you, Heroine, are really the kind of fellow who only thinks about beauty, I doubt that the Brooke family will have any need to cooperate with the McAvoy family. Heroine laughed. You are still not polite with your words. As expected, it is your usual style, Catherine. His expression suddenly turned serious. I received news that the Vampire Hunter Association seems to be up to something big recently. Tell your Brooke tribesmen to be careful. Damn it, vampire, who was the one who came up with such an ungraceful name? Gu Xingyin's expression turned cold as well. The Vampire Hunter Association. We've been too lazy to deal with these little kittens all these years. I didn't expect them to be so bold. After Owen left, Lancelot walked in. Seeing Gu Xingyin frowning slightly, he spontaneously raised his hand to rub her brows. What are you worried about? He asked softly. Gu Xingyin closed her eyes and replied, isn't it because of you humans? We vampires have signed a contract with the human kingdom. The humans will provide us with fresh blood on a regular basis, while the vampires will be responsible for eliminating the threats from the werewolves and ferocious beasts in the northern mountains. I've always restrained my clansmen to abide by the contract, but your human vampire hunter association has always treated us as targets to be killed. Lancelot was at a loss for words. He had heard of the Vampire Hunter Association before. Not only had he heard of it, but he even knew that the association was very respected in his own country. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Gu Xingyin. She opened her eyes and laughed coldly. Don't find any excuses. I know very well what you humans are thinking. You are just guarding against the vampires. You are afraid that if we break the contract, with our powerful strength, the humans will not be a match for us. Chapter 156. She said sarcastically, what are you humans so afraid of? What might be a long life for you is just a short sleep in the eyes of us vampires. The things that you care about are nothing in our eyes. Even the so-called Vampire Hunter Association can be easily taken care of as long as I send an elder from the Brute clan. If we vampires have any ideas one day, you humans won't be able to stop us. Gu Xingyin looked at him but didn't say anything else. However, the vampires wouldn't. Although they were powerful, they were too few in number. Although they could turn humans into vampires through the embrace, it wasn't as simple as humans thought. The vampires treated their descendants with great care. A transformed descendant was equivalent to a child of the vampires. Moreover, the embrace required a large amount of blood essence. Very few vampires would be willing to transform a human unless they were especially fond of the human. Even a blood breed like Owen and Rita only had 3 blood descendants. Most of the other high-ranking blood breeds like dukes and earls only had 1 blood descendant. Of course, the original Catherine didn't transform anyone due to her personality. Gu Xingyin seemed to feel that this topic was too heavy and didn't continue. She separated a part of her spiritual energy and probed Lancelot. She was surprised to find that he had successfully become a swordsman. "How's your training going?" Lancelot was shocked when he heard this. "I've been practicing according to the method you taught me. It's surprisingly smooth. There's nothing that I don't understand." Gu Xingyin thought that if the inner disciples of the cultivation world heard this, they would probably vomit blood. "You've been here for almost 2 months. Since you're not willing to be the embrace, you should go back." Gu Xingyin asked him. Lancelot suddenly raised his head and looked straight at Gu Xingyin. "Are you tired of me?" Gu Xingyin looked at him. "My Nightingale Castle isn't suitable for a human to live in for a long time, especially a weak human. Do you know how many vampires are tempted by your existence? If it weren't for my restraint, you would have been sucked dry by now." Lancelot lowered his head and didn't say anything. His hand was tightly holding onto the hilt of his sword. Gu Xingyin pointed at Lancelot's forehead. Lancelot only felt that there was something extra in his mind. It was about the swordsman's training method and the stellar sword sect's training method. Lancelot felt that she was different from others. In the past 2 months since he had arrived at Nightingale Castle, all the rumors he had heard about the Grand Duchess were that she was cold, elegant, and unapproachable. However, she taught him a strange but powerful sword technique. She allowed him to get close to her and she would even smile at him. He suddenly grabbed the hilt of his sword, took a step forward, and grabbed Gu Xingyin's hand with his right hand. Gu Xingyin was shocked, but he did not let go. Lancelot looked at her deeply and said, "Catherine, I would like to call you that. Do you know how I feel about you? Then, you've made so many exceptions for me. Does that count as an answer?" Gu Xingyin raised her head and looked at the man who was taller than her by a head. She indirectly answered his question. "If you want to be my man, you have to prove yourself with your strength first." Chapter 157. Your Highness, may I know why you summoned me? A handsome man bowed to Gu Xingyin. "Sala, I need you to go to the Rose Duchy and teach those vampire hunters a lesson," Gu Xingyin said coldly. Sala's face was full of excitement. Sala obeys. He had long since found those hateful vampire hunters an eyesore. Gu Xingyin glanced at him. "Don't overdo it." Sala quickly lowered his head. "Yes, Your Highness." Gu Xingyin went to the Night Castle. She wanted to change her strategy with Rita. He wondered if Rita would still feel resentment and jealousy toward Gu Xingyin if the person she fell in love with was not Olivin. Rita was picking white roses in the garden of the Night Castle. There was only one type of flower in the entire castle. Coincidentally, white roses were Catherine's favorite. The vampires in the Night Castle didn't dare to stop Gu Xingyin. They could only inform their master who wasn't in the castle. "Your Highness." Rita turned around and saw Gu Xingyin standing behind her. She didn't know how long Rita had been standing there looking at her. Gu Xingyin walked towards Rita step by step. She was wearing a royal dress today. It was said that it was very popular among humans. Her long skirt floated on the ground, drawing beautiful arcs in the air. Rita was a little nervous. She didn't know why Her Highness suddenly visited. Gu Xingyin bent down and picked the brightest white rose. She gently put it in Rita's hair. Very beautiful. She glanced at Rita and a faint smile appeared on her face. Rita suddenly blushed. She suddenly felt that Her Highness' smile was better than all the white roses in the garden. Gu Xingyin did it on purpose. She only had one goal, but there was no limit to the process. This time, she suddenly had an idea. If she were to increase Rita's favorability with her now, as long as Rita had enough favorability with her, would the blood swap in the original plot disappear? Her Highness is the prettiest. Rita suddenly blurted out such a sentence. As soon as the words left her mouth, she realized what she had said. Her face paled as she knelt down. Your Highness, please forgive my offense. She had heard that this prince of the Brook clan was the noblest existence among the vampires, just like her own father, Owen. Although he had never heard of Her Highness disliking others praising her beauty, his words just now were obviously too frivolous. Gu Xingyin lowered her eyes. She realized that this was a good opportunity to increase her favorability. She reached out with one hand and gently pulled Rita up. Make yourself at home. In fact, I like you very much. If it wasn't for Owen's insistence, I would have brought you back to Nightingale Castle. She was slightly taller than Rita, and her posture almost hugged Rita. Rita only felt that her breath was filled with Her Highness' cold aura. However, Gu Xingyin didn't realize it at all. She continued to whisper affectionately into Rita's ear, such a cute little girl like you. When Oliwen came in, he saw this scene. His fiancée was dressed to the nines. She outshone all the white roses in the garden. His new favorite, Rita, was nestled in Catherine's arms shyly. Both of them were whispering something intimately. For some reason, Oliwen felt a little stifled. Chapter 158. What are the both of you doing? Gu Xingyin turned around and saw that Oliwen seemed to be a little unhappy. She glanced at Rita who was standing very close to her and suddenly realized something. Could it be that Owen was jealous because she was too close to his lover? Gu Xingyin took a step back and looked at him. I am here as a guest. Since you are not around, I can only admire the white roses in the garden with my cute little Rita. Rita looked at the distance between the both of them. She did not know why, but she felt a little regretful. Oliwen looked at Catherine's expression and was sure that she did not have any improper thoughts about Rita. Only then did he feel relieved. His tone relaxed. If you are coming to the Dark Knight Castle, you can tell me in advance. I will definitely make time for you. Gu Xingyin looked at him with disdain. What is there to talk about with a man like you about? Oliwen, Rita, I suddenly feel like laughing. It turned out that Her Highness Catherine was such an interesting person. In the following days, Gu Xingyin visited the Dark Knight Castle frequently. Every time she visited, she would have a good chat with Rita. It was not that she did not notice Oliwen's expression, but she did not understand. She only wanted to chat with Rita. They were both women. What was there for Oliwen to be worried about? The system complained in its mind. Naive host, don't you know that the Blood clan has always been shameless? Even Oliwen himself likes both men and women. Oliwen looked at Catherine, who was getting along well with Rita. His eyes gradually darkened. On this day, after Gu Xingyin left, Oliwen went to Rita's room. Your Highness. Ah! Rita screamed. The next second, her neck was grabbed by Livingston. Stay away from her, Rita. Oliwen looked at her with bloodthirsty eyes. Rita's eyes flickered. Your Highness, I don't understand what you mean. Oliwen tightened his grip on her neck. You don't understand. Catherine may not understand, but don't you understand? He slowly leaned close to her ear. Put away your shameful thoughts. She is not someone you can touch. After that, he released his grip on Rita and threw her to the ground. Cough, cough, cough. It took Rita a long time to catch her breath. She looked at the man who was sitting high above her. Suddenly, a surge of courage came out of nowhere as she blurted out the words in her heart. Your Highness, since you like Catherine so much, why don't you tell her? Why do you have to change lovers one by one? As soon as she said this, Li Wen's aura suddenly turned violent. Rita spat out a mouthful of blood from the pressure. Li Wen stared at her with bloodthirsty eyes. If you weren't my blood, I would have sent you to see Cain just for what you just said. He didn't seem to want to see her again. His figure blurred and disappeared into the darkness. Rita was left sitting on the ground in a daze. After a long while, she let out a low chuckle. Since you like her, don't do things that will hurt your lover. Since you keep changing lovers one by one, it proves that you are not worthy of her. She slowly stood up and walked into the darkness. Her shadow was elongated under the dim light. It was distorted and strange as it slowly disappeared into the darkness. Chapter 159. When Gu Xingyin arrived at the Dark Knight Castle again, Rita was nowhere to be seen. I sent her to the Loki Kingdom, Li Wen explained. Gu Xingyin looked at him in surprise, wondering why he was willing to let her go. She did not try to hide it and Li Wen immediately understood what she meant. He gritted his teeth and said, Rita and I are not as close as you think. Gu Xingyin understood in a second. Scumbag. Li Wen was helpless, but he did not know how to explain it to a person who was not enlightened, so he did not care. Gu Xingyin did not have anything to do. She could clearly feel the change in Rita's attitude towards her. It seemed that she had improved her relationship with Rita. Moreover, judging from the current situation, Rita and Li Wen did not have a deep relationship. Thinking about it, in the original plot, the incident where Rita attacked him in order to be with Li Wen would not happen. In that case, Gu Xingyin felt that he could take the time to visit a certain man. When Gu Xingyin arrived at the Ryan family mansion, it was late at night. She thought that she would have to go to his bedroom to see him, but she did not expect to see him at a training ground. He had been practicing his sword all night. She took a closer look at Lancelot's level and realized that he was already a swordsman. However, this could not calm Gu Xingyin's anger. It was true that a high-level swordsman could not sleep or rest, but for a low-level swordsman, sufficient rest was necessary. Otherwise, it would be a huge burden on the body. Lancelot, who was focused on practicing his sword, suddenly realized that he could not move. He then watched as the sword in his hand was forcefully taken away by a strong force. Just as he was about to activate the Ryan family's defense, he heard the voice that he had been thinking about day and night. You don't take your body seriously at all. Are you living too freely? Lancelot thought that he was dreaming. When he came back to his senses, he realized that the force that was restraining him had disappeared. She hurriedly turned around and looked at Gu Xingyin, who was wearing a cloak. You've come. Gu Xingyin heard the surprise in his voice, but put that aside for now. Didn't the memories I passed to you tell you that sword cultivation has very high requirements for the body? If you do this, you might be able to improve very quickly in a short period of time, but you're wasting your aptitude, do you know that? She said sternly. In fact, how could Lancelot not know? However, he couldn't wait any longer. When he thought of her conditions and the gap between them, he felt that he couldn't wait any longer. Since she came to see me, did it mean that she actually missed me too? When Lancelot thought of this possibility, he was overjoyed. He looked at Gu Xingyin, who was staring at him coldly. He was not affected by her cold face at all. He complained, I miss you every night. I can't sleep because I miss you. Gu Xingyin, she laughed angrily. Now it's my fault. So. Lancelot walked to her side. He hesitated for a moment, but still firmly held her hand. You can supervise me. Watch me every day and make sure that I rest on time. Then I won't let this affect my body. Gu Shengyin. Give him an inch, and he wants a mile. However, a certain man's shameless and superficial plan still succeeded. In his bedroom, a non-human successfully moved in. Chapter 160. Don't you need to sleep? Lancelot looked at Gu Shengyin innocently. Gu Shengyin stood aside coldly. No need. Didn't you want me to watch you sleep? You can sleep now. Lancelot didn't say much. He obediently started to take off his clothes. Jacket, inner shirt, until his firm upper body and smooth muscles were exposed. Then, Lancelot was dismayed to find that this woman did not even spare him a glance. The man didn't give up. He started to walk around the room again. He bent down to pick up something, then walked past Gu Shengyin and inadvertently showed the muscles on his arms. However, it was obvious that it didn't have any effect. When Gu Shengyin was done with his show, and he was done admiring it, he gave him a blow to the heart. Why aren't you sleeping yet? Lancelot, he could only lie back on the bed helplessly. He had thought that he wouldn't be able to sleep with his beloved beside him, but he hadn't expected his thoughts to be so calm. After a while, his breathing calmed down. Only when Gu Shengyin was sure that he had fallen asleep did the indifference on his face fade away like the tide. She slowly walked to Lancelot's side and looked at him quietly, as if she couldn't get enough of him. Lancelot woke up with a smile and looked in a certain direction out of habit. There was no one. He immediately woke up and looked around the room, but he didn't see anyone. What's going on? Could it be that everything that happened last night was just a beautiful dream? Lancelot was a bit disappointed. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. What are you looking for? He was surprised and overjoyed when he saw Gu Shengyin appear in the room. I didn't see you just now. I thought last night was a dream. Gu Shengyin was silent for a bit before saying, Don't think too much. Since I promised you, I'll naturally supervise your swordsmanship. Lancelot blinked. Then during the day. He knew that vampires couldn't see daylight. However, Gu Shengyin shook her head. It's fine. Sunlight doesn't affect me much now. I'll just wear this cloak. As a result, the people of the Ryan family saw a mysterious person wearing a black cloak beside their young master. When the two of them appeared in front of the dining table, Lancelot then realized that Gu Shengyin seemed to be unable to accept human food. Who is this? Brought, Lancelot's father and the head of the Ryan family, asked in surprise. Father, she is my swordsmanship teacher, Lancelot said with a smile. Brat's attitude suddenly became enthusiastic. He knew that his son had been practicing strange swordsmanship recently. At first, he did not approve of it, until he saw the power of the swordsmanship. It was simply too mysterious and couldn't be explained with common sense. He was quite curious and respectful towards his son's teacher. Gu Shengyin's attitude was as polite but cold as ever. Brat didn't mind. Most experts had their own quirks. As for the fact that Gu Shengyin was a woman, he was only surprised for a moment. He invited Gu Shengyin to eat breakfast together. The taste buds of vampires couldn't actually detect the taste of human food. Gu Shengyin only ate 2 mouthfuls and then stopped. Mrs. Ryan's attention was drawn to the hand that reached out for the cloak. White, slender, perfect hands. Could a woman with such a pair of hands really be the teacher that taught her son such powerful swordsmanship? Mrs. Ryan felt that her son might have been deceived. When she heard that the two of them were going to the training field, she had an idea. Chapter 161. Young Master Ryan, I heard that you have a new swordsmanship teacher. I specially came to ask for advice. a blond man said to Lancelot. After he finished speaking, he looked at Gu Xingyin, who was wrapped in a black cloak but still had a graceful figure. His tone was full of undisguised contempt. I heard that your new teacher is actually a woman. He sized up Gu Xingyin. Such a weak woman should stay at home and be protected by a man. A weapon like a sword is not suitable for a woman. Anne. He looked at the sword in Lancelot's hand, his expression was full of disdain. It is indeed a woman's sword. It is so small, can it cut the enemy's throat when dealing with him? Lancelot was furious. This blond man was his previous swordsmanship teacher. His name was Hart. His swordsmanship was good, but he was arrogant and looked down on women. When Lancelot came back, he told his parents that he was learning a new swordsmanship and did not need a swordsmanship teacher. It seemed that this move made him unhappy. But how dare he humiliate her? Lancelot was about to speak, but Gu Xingyin stopped him. She looked at Hart with a faint smile. You want to compete with me? Hart looked proud, of course. Gu Xingyin nodded. Well, it seems that you don't like my swordsmanship. She stretched out her right hand and a sword appeared out of thin air. Hart was shocked by her move. He snorted and said, You're just pretending to be mysterious. Gu Xingyin ignored him. Instead, he turned to Lancelot and said, Take a good look. This is the prowess of sword arts. Lancelot was very curious. He had always known that Catherine was powerful, but he had never seen her use a sword. Then, his eyes widened. A bright sword light flashed. The huge sword in Hart's hand, which was said to be made of the strongest material, was cut into 2 pieces. The sword in Gu Xingyin's hand was pressed against his neck. A chill spread from Hart's neck to his entire body. He did not doubt that this sword could easily cut off his entire head, just like the broken sword on the ground. Tell me, with such a thin sword resting on your neck, do you think he can slit your throat? Gu Xingyin gently pushed the sword in his hand forward, and Hart immediately felt a sharp pain. Hart's expression did not change. He looked at Gu Xingyin. I apologize for my previous behavior. Your swordsmanship is very powerful. I am far behind. I, Hart, am convinced that I have lost to you. You can punish me as you wish. After he finished speaking, he closed his eyes, looking like he was ready to be killed. Gu Xingyin casually put away the sword in his hand and did not even look at him. Since you already know what you want to know, let's go. As she spoke, her gaze drifted in a certain direction. Mrs. Ryan, who was hiding in a small attic, felt a chill in her heart. She felt that her whereabouts had been discovered. Impossible. She comforted herself. This location was special. No matter how powerful that person was, it was impossible for him to discover her. Lancelot, who had been paying attention to Gu Xingyin, noticed her behavior. He quickly asked, What's wrong? Nothing. Gu Xingyin replied noncommittally. After Mrs. Ryan went downstairs, she thought for a moment and told her husband what happened today. What did you say? Brat was shocked and angry. Chapter 162. You're so stupid. Mr. Brat walked around the study twice. According to what you said, Lance's teacher was strong enough to subdue Hart with a single sword strike. It's not strange that she found you. Mr. Brat was a little depressed. Strong people like her are all proud and arrogant. What if she gets angry and leaves? What will happen to Lance? Mrs. Ryan was also a little anxious. I just wanted to test her strength. How could I have known that Hart would be so straightforward? Mr. Brat suddenly asked, Is that mysterious strong person really as powerful as you say? Speaking of this, Mrs. Ryan's eyes lit up. Oh my God, I've never seen such elegant swordsmanship. I saw that she just held the sword and gently waved it, and then there was a flash of light. Then the sword was placed on Hart's neck. Mr. Brat pondered for a moment and finally decided. In that case, you should go and apologize in person. Such a strong person was worth lowering oneself to make friends with. Mrs. Ryan was not stupid. She understood her husband's meaning and nodded. Okay, I'll go and prepare. Mrs. Ryan's arrival was within Gu Xingyin's expectations. Your Excellency, I'm sorry for offending you today. Please forgive me. Mrs. Ryan sincerely apologized. Gu Xingyin didn't intend to do anything. After all, she was the mother of her lover in this life. She nodded and accepted Mrs. Ryan's gift. In the evening, Lancelot came to the small courtyard the Ryan family had arranged for Gu Xingyin. I'm sorry. Gu Xingyin didn't say anything. Lancelot wasn't stupid. The other party was obvious enough. A dignified vampire princess came to the human world for him, accompanied him to practice swordsmanship, and paid attention to his health. What did he do to deserve her love? But she was wronged by him. He suddenly saw Gu Xingyin's figure move and disappear from the room. Lancelot was shocked. Did she leave in anger? He couldn't help but call out, Catherine, are you there? But no one answered. Lancelot sat on the ground dejectedly. She must be angry and didn't want to see him. Actually, Gu Xingyin did not think too much about it. She had suddenly disappeared because she had sensed O Liwen's aura. You really are here. Owen's voice was emotionless. Looking at Gu Xingyin's puzzled gaze, O Liwen suddenly didn't know how to vent his anger. What should he say? Should she say that she had not been in Nightingale Castle for a long time, and that she had been staying in the house of a human man? Should she say that he was jealous and came looking for her regardless? What position did he have to say that? In the end, he could only force out a sentence, I heard that you've been infatuated with a human recently, so I came to take a look. Gu Xingyin was not in a good mood. She retorted, I remember that this is not the McAvoy family's territory. Owen, aren't you overstepping your boundaries? O Liwen was just about to speak when he suddenly stopped. He could clearly hear the words Catherine in the wind. You actually allowed him to call you by your name. O Liwen could only feel the anger in his heart burning up inch by inch. O Liwen, I, Catherine, have no obligation to report to anyone when I do things. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Gu Xingyin turned to leave. A hand reached out to block her path. Chapter 163. Gu Xingyin looked at O Liwen, who was blocking her, in confusion. Owen's melancholy blue eyes had already turned dark red, and his cultured and refined face had also become devilishly charming. Catherine, you are my fiancée. How can you have feelings for other men? He said in a low voice. What a joke. Catherine looked at him coldly. O Liwen, where did you get the confidence to say such things to me? O Liwen's eyes flashed with pain, but it was quickly covered by blood. I will not allow you to like other men. The only person who is worthy of you is me. O Liwen looked at Gu Xingyin steadily. Gu Xingyin was confused by this development. What was going on? Didn't O Liwen like Rita? O Liwen, your current situation is not normal. Look carefully. I am not Rita. Gu Xingyin looked at O Liwen's blood-red eyes and knew that this was a sign of the McAvoy family falling into madness. Rita? So you think I like her? O Liwen laughed in a low voice. I am very clear-headed, Catherine. Who is Rita? If she didn't look a little like you, I wouldn't even look at her. The one I love has always been you, he said with a sigh. O Liwen seemed to have revealed a secret that had been buried in his heart for many years. His eyes locked onto Gu Xingyin. Gu Xingyin was stunned by his words. System, you did not tell me that O Liwen's true love is actually Catherine. The system was also very innocent. I did not know either. This was not in the original plot. Gu Xingyin, this unreliable system. However, O Liwen still had to deal with it. You love me, but you keep changing lovers. Only one, I really can't accept your love. Gu Xingyin's words were like a sharp knife stabbing into Li Wen's heart. He knew that a person like Catherine would not tolerate the fact that her other half was unfaithful. What if there's more to this matter than meets the eye? He refused to give up. Gu Xingyin looked at him steadily. I don't want to know anything. You just need to tell me, are your lovers real? Owen couldn't deny it. Gu Xingyin sneered, look, Li Wen, what are you using to prove your feelings for me? Are you going to use your endless supply of lovers? She stopped talking and turned to leave. Also, Owen, don't do anything to Lancelot, if you still want us to be friends. Her voice came from afar in the wind. Li Wen covered his face and laughed softly, deal with a human. Catherine, you are underestimating me, Owen McAvoy. Catherine was, after all, the highest leader of the Brooke family. It was impossible for her to spend all her time on Lancelot. She would only occasionally check on Lancelot's situation and leave some things behind. She would never meet with him. On the other hand, Rita's rate of improvement was shocking. Her strength was already close to that of a duke. The hierarchy of the blood race was very strict. High-ranking members of the blood race started from the count, followed by the marquis, the duke, and finally the prince. When she was transformed by Li Wen, she was only a count. Even though Li Wen's blood transformed her, her speed of improvement was still shocking. Chapter 164. Gu Xingyin took the time to visit the Loki kingdom. She did not tell anyone. She was surprised when she saw Rita. The woman in front of her was really Rita. Her lips were as red as blood, and she was drinking a cup of fresh blood. Rita, long time no see. Gu Xingyin greeted her. Rita's relaxed expression froze. She seemed to be in disbelief. Your Highness. It's me. Gu Xingyin walked over. Rita seemed to be in a panic. She stood up and bowed to Gu Xingyin. When she stood up, she saw her gorgeous dress and black fingernails. She paused for a moment. Your Highness, please take a seat. Rita personally poured a cup of fresh blood for Gu Xingyin and turned to leave. When she came out again, she had changed into the familiar look Gu Xingyin was familiar with. Gu Xingyin suddenly realized that she had gone to remove her thick makeup just now. You look more natural now. I almost didn't recognize you just now. Gu Xingyin said casually. Rita smiled shyly. Your Highness, how come you have time to come here? Gu Xingyin looked at her. I heard that you have been improving very quickly recently. I came to see the new Duke of the Vampires. With Rita's speed, it would not be a problem for her to become a duke. There were less than 10 dukes in the entire vampire race. Rita seemed a little embarrassed. In front of your Highness, a duke is nothing. Gu Xingyin looked at her. Don't belittle yourself, Rita. You are already very good. Gu Xingyin stayed in the Loki kingdom for a day. When it was time to leave, Rita was reluctant to leave. If you have time, you can come to the Nightingale Castle. You are always welcome. Gu Xingyin said. What a pity. Rita lowered her eyes. His Highness Owen felt that he would not allow a disloyal person like me to set foot in Nightingale Castle. After Gu Xingyin returned to the Nightingale Castle, she began to prepare for her hibernation. Every 500 years, the vampires would go through a period of weakness. Usually, they would enter a deep sleep during this period. This wasn't a small matter. The original Catherine had been sealed by Rita when she was in hibernation with a group of blood breeds. After confirming that the defensive measures of Nightingale Castle were all activated, Gu Xingyin also drew a huge defensive array in the basement where she chose to sleep. She left a message for Lancelot, saying that she had something to do and might not appear again for the next 100 years. The slumber of vampires ranged from a few decades to a few centuries. She had confidence in her lover. With his talent, she didn't know what he would become after 100 years. Gu Xingyin quietly fell into a deep sleep as she felt the energy in her body rapidly depleting. What she didn't know was that by the time she woke up, the world outside had already changed. When she woke up, the system heaved a sigh of relief. "Host, you've finally woken up." The system's tone seemed to be very glad. "How long have I been asleep? Did something happen?" The system replied, "The host has been in hibernation for 160 years. Rita led many members of the McAvoy family to betray Owen." "What did you say?" Gu Xingyin was shocked. "Why?" The system hesitated for a moment. "It is said that Duke Rita coveted Prince McAvoy's fiancée and was driven out of the McAvoy family in anger." Gu Xingyin coveted Owen's fiancée. "Doesn't she like Owen?" "Wait." Gu Xingyin's eyes widened. "Owen's fiancée." Chapter 165. "You mean to say, the person Rita likes is me?" Gu Xingyin found it hard to believe. The system replied with silence. "So, the reason Li Wen was jealous back then was because he could tell that Rita likes me and was jealous of Rita?" The system fell silent once more. Gu Xingyin felt that she needed to calm down. "How's Lance?" She finally thought of her lover. Just as the system was about to speak, the restrictive barrier Gu Xingyin set up in the basement was broken. It was not brute force. Rather, it was the same method used to set up restrictive barriers. In this world, there was only one person who knew of this method. This time, there was no need for the system to answer. Sure enough, in the next second, Lancelot's face appeared before Gu Xingyin. "Catherine the Great," he called out to her with a hoarse voice. Then, he bent down and carried her out from the coffin. "Sword Sage, not bad. You have improved a lot. However, how did you get in?" Gu Xingyin asked as she leaned into his embrace. The man placed her down on a chair in the main hall. Then, he crouched down and said, "I fought my way in." Sure enough, in the next second, many of the castle's guards rushed in. When they saw Gu Xingyin who was seated on the main seat, they said, "Your Highness, a very powerful human rushed in with a strange weapon." His words were suddenly cut short. That very powerful human was kneeling on the ground, helping their Grand Prince put on his shoes. Gu Xingyin cast a cold glance at them and said, "Leave." The guards obeyed and left. The guard who spoke earlier had a look of admiration on his face as he said, "As expected of your Highness the Grand Prince. To think that such a powerful human would succumb to your Highness the Grand Prince's charm." The main hall fell into a state of silence. Lancelot suddenly stood up and said, "You once told me that in order to become your man, I must first use my sword to prove my strength." Then he bent down and looked at Gu Xingyin. The two of them could hear each other's breathing. "Now, do I have the qualifications?" Gu Xingyin raised his head, only to see his figure reflected in the other party's blue eyes. She chuckled softly, raised her hand, and wrapped it around his neck. Her breath smelled like orchids. "I allow you to call me Katiusha." Lancelot's expression suddenly became ecstatic. He couldn't wait any longer as he leaned over and pressed his lips on the woman's captivating red lips. Lancelot looked deeply at the person beneath him. He looked at her red lips that were especially moist because of the deep kiss just now. He looked at her eyes that were no longer cold and sparkling. "Can I?" He bent down and let her feel the changes in his body. Gu Xingyin didn't say anything. She just closed her eyes. At the height of his passion, Gu Xingyin could not help but extend his fangs and press them against Lancelot's neck. "My dear, Katiusha, bite down." Lancelot looked at her steadily. Gu Xingyin didn't hesitate any longer. Her fangs sank into his flesh. Lancelot felt as if fireworks were blooming in his mind. He groaned and fell onto Gu Xingyin's body. Gu Xingyin closed his eyes and indulged himself in sleep. When she woke up, she found herself lying on the bed. Her waist was held possessively by an arm. Awake? Lancelot's voice came from above her head. He was full of smiles. He wasn't asleep at all. Yesterday, he was overjoyed when he received his lover's approval. He didn't expect that there would be an even bigger surprise waiting for him. He stared at his lover's sleeping face and felt that he couldn't get enough of it. Chapter 166. After Gu Xingyin woke up, there were still a lot of things waiting for her to deal with. Not to mention the backlog of things in the Brooke family, there were still two troublesome matters. Owen and Rita. The two of them turned against each other because of Princess Brooke had caused an uproar among the vampires. Gu Xingyin's attitude towards this was to hold a banquet in Nightingale Castle. She was going to tell everyone that the Princess of Brooke already had someone she liked. Almost all the high-ranking blood breeds had received the invitation, including Owen and Rita. Many vampires were waiting to see how this would develop. However, they were disappointed. When Owen and Rita met, there were no sparks as expected. Both of them snorted coldly and went their separate ways. Actually, many vampires were curious. Rita was Owen's blood descendant. If Owen wanted her life, it would only take a thought. Why would he tolerate her until now? Gu Xingyin and Lancelot walked out together. The first thing she said made many blood breeds excited. "Let me introduce you to the man beside me, Lancelot Ryan. He is my partner." Her words shocked everyone. Not a new lover, not a blood descendant, but a partner. Vampires were naturally flirtatious, but they treated their other half very seriously. To the vampires, a partner meant loyalty and never abandoning each other. Before the vampires found their other half, they would mostly play around. Once they found their partner, such a life would no longer exist. Many of the blood breeds secretly shifted their attention to Olivia and Rita, wanting to see their reactions. The result did not disappoint them. Both of their expressions changed. Rita even screamed, "Your Highness, why did you choose a human? Didn't you say you like me a lot?" Gu Xingyin acutely sensed the cold gaze of the man beside her. She vaguely glared back. "Stop fooling around." Rita's words had attracted the attention of many vampires to Gu Xingyin. Gu Xingyin looked a little helpless. She looked at Rita as if she was an elder looking at an unreasonable junior. "Rita, I did say that I like you. I have always treated you as a very likable junior, and not the kind of feelings you want. I don't like women." Rita seemed to be unable to accept it. She had dressed up rather formally today, but in her grief, she could not care less about her exquisite makeup. She covered her face and wept softly, "It's not like this, it shouldn't be like this." "What about me? Catherine, do you still remember our engagement?" Oh, Livingston looked straight at her. The word engagement successfully made Lancelot tighten his grip on his sword. That's right, she still had a legitimate fiancé. "Owen," Gu Xingyin said seriously, "the entire vampires know about our engagement. I have never interfered with the things you have done in the past. Now that I have found my partner, let's end our engagement." Li Wen calmly listened to her words. Just when everyone thought that he would get angry, he slowly smiled. "I don't agree, unless," he looked straight at the man standing beside Gu Xingyin who had not spoken. "Let him and me have a fair fight." Chapter 167. Owen's words caused many of the vampires to rejoice in his misfortune. Between Owen and Lancelot, all of the vampires were biased towards Owen. A weak human dared to covet the most honorable Prince Brooke of the vampires. What a fool! Everyone was waiting to see Lancelot make a fool of himself. Owen was the prince of the Maccabi clan, a noble pure-blooded. Among the vampires, only Catherine the Great was a match for him. No one else was a match for him. Not to mention humans. Many of them thought that Gu Shengyin would step forward to stop him. Unexpectedly, she only took a step back and gave the human space. It seemed that the prince didn't like the human that much. Many of the vampires thought, otherwise, he wouldn't have watched him die. Lancelot only glanced at Gu Shengyin, his eyes full of affection. As for the other vampires, except for Catherine the Great, no one else was worthy of his attention. He pulled out the sword in his hand. The moment the sword was unsheathed, his entire aura changed. If Lancelot was described as a good-looking human nobleman just now, then at this moment, he was like a sharp sword that had already been sharpened. His entire body was covered in the cold light of a sharp blade. The whispers died down immediately. Many members of the Blood clan had realized that this human was not as weak as they had imagined. Owen also put away his indifferent expression. He looked at Lancelot and said, "You are stronger than I had imagined." Lancelot looked at him calmly and said, "You might say the same thing again in a while." Owen sneered, "Shameless boasting. The number of people who dare to say such things in front of me can be counted on one hand." He looked at Gu Shengyin and said, "The person you like is such an arrogant person." Gu Shengyin's expression did not change. "You will find out soon." Owen's heart ached at the unreserved trust in her words. He smiled and said, "All right, then let me see how strong a human can be." Lancelot's sword was already slashing down mercilessly. The development of the situation was beyond the expectations of the vampires. Was that man really human? Not some ancient god clan. How could a human possess such power? Many members of the blood race found it hard to believe that Lancelot was locked in battle with Owen. Looking at the calm and composed Gu Shengyin, who seemed to have expected this, the moods of the vampires changed. She was indeed worthy of the prince's attention. She was definitely not a mediocre person. Gu Shengyin's expression suddenly froze. With a flash of her body, she entered between the two people who were fighting. His hands deftly pushed and clapped, successfully separating the two people. That's enough. If she hadn't stopped them earlier and allowed them to continue fighting, it would have been a situation where both sides would have suffered. "Are you that afraid of your man getting hurt?" Li Wen sneered. Gu Shengyin turned to look at him. Li Wen, don't let your emotions get the better of you. Lancelot's sword aura is not something that can be easily healed by ordinary self-healing. Li Wen's expression warmed up for a moment when he heard that she was thinking for him. But in the next moment, he saw that man holding Catherine's hands and complaining intimately, "Are you hurt? Why did you rush out like that?" His good mood instantly disappeared without a trace. Chapter 168. When Gu Shengyin looked over. Owen did not wait for her to speak. He suddenly said, "Since this man is strong enough to be worthy of you, I will fulfill my promise. I, Owen of the McAvoy clan, announce that from today onwards, my engagement with Yekaterina Brooke is annulled." He looked at Gu Shengyin and said each word clearly. For some reason, Gu Shengyin could feel a strong sense of sadness from him even though his expression was calm. Lancelot knew what he was sad about. His intuition told him that Owen's feelings for Gu Shengyin were the same as his own. However, he was not in the mood to sympathize with a love rival. Li Wen didn't stay any longer. After saying that, he left. As the prince of the McAvoy clan, he should be strong and omnipotent. Even if he let go, he should be confident. After Owen left, Rita did not stay any longer. The Blood clan also left one after another. Lancelot became famous after that battle. No one dared to look down on him anymore. Gu Shengyin and Lancelot lived a peaceful life in Nightingale Castle for a long time. "How did you survive for the past 100 years?" Gu Shengyin leaned on the soft couch and looked at her lover who was reading a book. Lancelot raised his head and thought for a moment. "At first, I stayed at home. Because I stubbornly refused to get married and have children, I lost my status as the successor of the Ryan clan. This was a relief for me. But then, after 10 or 20 years, the clan realized that my appearance had not changed at all. They began to fear me. There was even one time when I heard my parents talking about me, saying that I was a monster. His tone was very calm, as if he was talking about something unrelated to him. Gu Xingyin felt her heart ache when she heard that. She had forgotten that this world was different from the world of swordsmen. Ordinary people would find it hard to accept that one's appearance did not change and had a long lifespan. Later, I moved to a forest not far from Nightingale Castle. At that time, I no longer needed to eat grains. I don't have to worry about meeting strangers, and I can be closer to you. Before he could finish his sentence, Gu Xingyin suddenly stood up and hugged him. He gently kissed her long hair. Don't think too much. I don't feel sad about this kind of life. Because he always had a thought in his heart, he never felt that the days were difficult. Recently, the blood race had made several big news. Duke Rita had returned to Prince Maikavi's service. Princess Brooke had married that powerful and abnormal human in Nightingale Castle. At this time, the two were nowhere to be found. It was said that they were on their honeymoon. During the wedding, Prince McAvoy and Duke Rita attended as well. The few of them actually enjoyed the banquet as though they were not affected by the previous incident at all. Are you planning to take me on a tour of the entire continent? Gu Xingyin looked at the man. Lancelot hugged the person in his arms tightly. When I used to practice my swordsmanship, I always thought that one day, I would be able to leave our footprints in every part of the continent with you. He knew that Gu Xingyin had existed for countless years. Perhaps she had already seen the scenery of this continent countless times. But in the past, he was not there. He was so domineering. He hoped that when this woman recalled something, he would be in it. Chapter 169. Gu Xingyin raised her head and said to Lancelot, "You have to stay by my side. When I wake up, you'll be the first person I see." Lancelot dotingly looked at his lover's pale face because of her weakness. He leaned over and kissed her lips with heartache. "I promise I'll stay by your side until you wake up." Gu Xingyin laid down in the coffin with a peace of mind. Gu Xingyin was a little worried when the 500-year period of weakness came again. This time, it was the time when Rita wanted to swap blood with Catherine out of jealousy in the original plot. Although Rita and Oliwen did not have the chance to be together in this world, she did not think that Rita would be dissatisfied with her in this world. Gu Xingyin let her imagination run wild. She felt that she might be overthinking things. Coupled with the wave of weakness, she closed her eyes and fell into a trance. Lancelot did as he said. He personally guarded the basement where Gu Xingyin was sleeping and did not allow anyone to enter. He planned to accompany her through this deep slumber just like this. Until he received a letter from Oliwen. The letter was indeed written by Oliwen. The contents of the letter made him tremble. He turned around and looked at Gu Xingyin who was still sleeping peacefully. He waved his hand and set up a layer of restriction before leaving in a hurry. The place where Oliwen had agreed to meet was very far away. Even though Lancelot was flying on his sword, it still took Lancelot almost half a day to arrive. Oliwen was already waiting there. He was pacing back and forth, looking very uneasy. What happened? The two of them asked at the same time when they saw each other. Lancelot's expression turned cold. "Weren't you the one who wrote the letter to ask me out?" Oliwen's expression changed. "You were the one who asked me out." "Oh no." Lancelot looked at his expression and thought of something. They did not speak any more and hurried to Nightingale Castle. At this time, Nightingale Castle welcomed a group of uninvited guests. "Where is Her Highness' sleeping place?" Rita softly asked a vampire who was pressed to the ground. He was a guard of Nightingale Castle. The Blood Clan member looked at Rita with disdain. Shameless traitor, you will receive your retribution. A hand pierced through his chest and crushed his heart. Rita slowly pulled her hand out and took out a white handkerchief to wipe off the blood stains on it. Looks like they won't talk about it. Go and find them. The basement was quickly found. Rita suppressed the excitement in her heart. She could already see the magnificent coffin. You, go take a look and see if His Highness Brooke is inside. She pointed at a vampire beside her. The Blood Clan member was obviously excited. He thought that this was a chance for him to show his face. He slowly walked into the coffin, glanced at it, and then turned back. That's right, it's a grand prince. Countless snow-white sword lights appeared in the void and shredded him into pieces. Just as I thought, Rita snorted. Break the array here. Lancelot's expression suddenly darkened. Olwen was worried. What's wrong? Lancelot's expression was gloomy. The array I left at Katyusha's sleeping place has been broken. Rita looked greedily at the sleeping Gu Xingyin. She could not help but reach out and touch her face. Her expression was full of obsession. Your Highness. Chapter 170. Gu Xingyin was forcefully awakened by the system. If a sleeping blood breed was forcefully awakened, the consequences would be dire. However, the system could not do anything about it. If the host was not awakened, the consequences would be even worse. Even the mission in this world might fail. Rita was shocked by Gu Xingyin, who suddenly opened her eyes. Your Highness. Rita panicked. Wasn't Her Highness in a deep sleep and could not wake up? Rita. Gu Xingyin's dark golden eyes looked at her emotionlessly. You brought so many blood breeds to my castle to congratulate me on waking up from my deep sleep. The aura of a prince instantly swept through the castle. The blood breeds who followed Rita could not help but kneel before Gu Xingyin. Even if Rita was unwilling, she could not resist the instinct of her bloodline. Let me guess. What are you trying to do? Taking advantage of my weakened state to replace me? Gu Xingyin sat in the coffin calmly, trying her best not to let any blood breed see her weak state. She was forcefully awakened by the system and was still in a weakened state. Her combat power was less than 10%. If Rita really wanted to go all out, she might not be able to withstand it. The only thing she could do now was to pray that Lancelot would notice the problem with the restrictive spell and rush over. Rita trembled under her aura. I love Your Highness. So you brought so many advanced blood breeds, killed the guards of Nightingale Castle and forced your way in. Rita's heart was filled with despair. She did not bother to explain herself. She just lay on the ground and waited for Gu Xingyin's verdict. However, after a long time, she did not hear any movement from Gu Xingyin. Rita raised her head and saw Gu Xingyin looking at her with a complicated expression. There was regret, pity, and pain. Rita, who was about to accept her fate, was provoked by Gu Xingyin's gaze. She suddenly straightened up and looked at Gu Xingyin. Your Highness, why are you still showing me such an expression at a time like this? You don't know that it was you who made me hold some unrealistic hopes. Then, you personally shattered my hopes. Gu Xingyin, oh no, I think I overdid it. After Rita finished her sentence, she seemed to know that she had no chance at all. She was waiting for Gu Xingyin to deal with her. However, she still did not see Gu Xingyin take any action. Rita suddenly had an epiphany. She gritted her teeth and slowly stood up. Your Highness. She tried to approach Gu Xingyin, let me guess. It's not that you don't want to make a move, but, you can't, right? She looked at Gu Xingyin and revealed a strange smile. Your words just now were just to buy time. You didn't wake up naturally at all. You forcefully woke up from your deep sleep, right? Gu Xingyin secretly ridiculed her sister. Do you have to be so quick-witted? Rita suddenly raised her head and a dense dark energy burst out from her body. The Blood Clan members who were being suppressed by Gu Xingyin stood up one by one. As expected, even the level suppression is weak. Rita smiled and moved closer to Gu Xingyin. Your Highness, you should be an arrow at the end of its flight, right? Gu Xingyin's expression did not change. Even if I only have 10% of my strength left, Rita, with just you and this motley crew, you won't be able to get away with it. Rita sneered. Whether or not they can get away with it, we'll only know after we try. Chapter 171. Reality had proven that even though Gu Xingyin only had 1/10 of her strength left, she was still able to hold her ground under the siege of so many high-level blood breeds. However, she was only able to hold her ground. Rita was getting more and more excited. She said to the blood breeds behind her, she is very weak now. As long as she can hold on a little longer, we will succeed. Gu Xingyin was indeed unable to hold on any longer. Waves of weakness came from within her body. She even felt that her vision was becoming blurry. Lancelot, if you don't come over, I will really fall into an eternal slumber. She muttered. The system could not interfere with the normal development of the plot. The most it could do was to wake the host up and prevent her from falling into a deep slumber so quickly. As if he had really heard her words, she felt Lancelot's aura in the next moment. A sword light that was filled with rage and murderous intent slashed towards Rita with an unstoppable momentum. No matter how fast Rita was, she was not as fast as the sword light. She dodged quickly and avoided her vitals, but her entire left arm was chopped off. Lancelot had no time to care about her. His figure flashed and he appeared beside Gu Xingyin. However, he only caught his lover's falling body. The blood breeds knelt down once again. The bloodline suppression from Prince McAvoy at his peak was not something that Gu Xingyin could barely compare to. Rita, you are very good. You are very good. Owen gritted his teeth and looked at her. Rita knew that this operation had completely failed. She raised her head and smiled disdainfully at Owen. I am not a coward like you. If you like something, you have to fight for it yourself. If I had your strength, I would never let her fall into the hands of others. Owen lowered his head and looked at her. Even if you don't care about her wishes and make her hate you forever. Rita's expression changed. She sneered and said, that is still better than nothing. Owen looked at her from above. The bloodline and glory bestowed upon me by the McAvoy family makes me disdainful of such despicable and lowly actions. Your actions are unworthy of the bloodline of the McAvoy family. I will take back the bloodline I bestowed upon you. Just as he finished his sentence, an obvious change happened to Rita. Her delicate skin quickly shriveled up, and her moist red hair suddenly became white and dull. In just a few seconds, she had turned from a young woman in her prime into an old woman with one foot in the grave. This isn't me. This isn't me. Rita almost screamed. This is you. Without the bloodline I bestowed upon you, you are nothing. Li Wen no longer looked at her and turned to leave. Without the blood clan's ability to live forever, this woman wouldn't be able to live much longer. What's wrong with her? Owen came to Lancelot's side. He's asleep. The other party's answer was concise and comprehensive. Li Wen looked at Gu Xingyin carefully. She forcefully woke up during her weak period and fought with someone. This time, her slumber may be prolonged indefinitely until her strength is fully recovered. Lancelot picked her up. It's all right. I have enough time to wait for her to wake up. Li Wen watched him leave with her in his arms. After a while, he looked away and laughed self-deprecatingly. He accepted his fate and helped him clean up the mess behind him. Chapter 172. No one knew where Lancelot had taken her, except for Li Wen, who could occasionally find her whereabouts. The last time Li Wen saw him, he was building a house in a deserted valley and lived there for 20 years. Have you ever thought about what if she never wakes up? In fact, Li Wen had already sensed that the power in Gu Xingyin's body was slowly recovering. It might not take many years for her to wake up. He couldn't stand Lancelot's affectionate expression and deliberately wanted to provoke him. After so many years, the two of them had unexpectedly become good friends. Then I will accompany her. When I can no longer accompany her, I will put my ashes beside her. Lancelot was putting a bouquet of flowers with dew beside Gu Xingyin's pillow. Li Wen looked at him and suddenly felt very envious. Unfortunately, he would never have the chance to love someone like this again. Gu Xingyin woke up in the autumn when the leaves fell. When she woke up, Lancelot was sitting beside her. "You're awake." Lancelot's smile was as gentle as ever, as if this was a routine greeting every morning. Gu Xingyin also smiled. "Yes, I'm awake." In this world, Gu Xingyin didn't know how long she had been with Lancelot. She only remembered that she had experienced innumerable times of weakness and deep sleep, and every time she opened her eyes, Lancelot would look at her with a gentle smile. A swordsman's lifespan was not unlimited, and Lancelot had inevitably entered a period of weakness. "Don't be sad." Lancelot still looked so young, and he still held her so gently. "I am satisfied that I can accompany you for so many years." He looked at Gu Xingyin. "During this period, I think I have had many intermittent dreams about the two of us." He smiled and said, "We seem to be destined to be lovers. In every life, I will meet you, and then we will be very happy." Gu Xingyin wanted to cry. "Katyusha, don't change me." He kissed her lips. Gu Xingyin nodded. She had lived long enough in this world. Lancelot left quietly. Gu Xingyin did not seem to be particularly sad. She placed his ashes in her bedroom. When the next period of weakness came, she stepped into the coffin with his ashes with a calm expression. "Your Highness, that human is already dead. His Highness Prince Brook is now considered single. Other than you, no one else is worthy of her," a member of the blood clan said to Owen. Owen shook his head. No one else would have that chance. That person was dead and Catherine would never wake up again. His guess was right. Gu Xingyin fell asleep and never woke up again. The first thing Gu Xingyin did when she returned to the space was to summon the system. "Actually, you know who he is, right?" She was not stupid. Even if the system could not find out the identity of her lover, it was impossible that it could not find out after such a long time. This time, the system changed its answer. "The host does not have enough authority to find out." Gu Xingyin, "Very good, you are ruthless. Then when will I have the authority?" The system's white light flashed. "There is no hard and fast rule. When that person is willing to let the host know, the host will know." Gu Xingyin. "You win." Chapter 173. Owen Mykavi. He was a third-generation blood breed, the noblest pureblood. He was also the strongest existence in the entire blood breed. However, he was destined to be unable to love anyone. That was because he was born with a curse and the person who cursed him was his mother. As he was too powerful, he had absorbed almost all of his mother's energy when he was still in her womb. She was afraid of him and she cursed him to die prematurely. However, she did not succeed. When he was born, the woman who gave birth to him was at the end of her life. He was born with this knowledge, so he clearly heard the woman using the last bit of strength in her life to cast the most vicious curse on her own son. "You monster! I curse you, never get close to the person you love. Otherwise, you will bring her bad luck. You will kill her." Ha 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 ha. He did not take it to heart in the past. The blood breed had such a long lifespan. What kind of relationship could withstand such a long period of training? Everyone was just playing around. As long as they did not fall in love, the curse would never come true. However, he did not know that feelings were one of the most uncontrollable things. He had fallen in love with his fiancée. What kind of man would not be moved by such a woman? How ironic. He was her fiancé. He should have been the one who could rightfully possess her. However, he could not get close to her. He could only wander between different types of men and women to earn himself a reputation of being a playboy. He used this as an excuse to escape from his true feelings. He watched as Catherine looked at him. At the beginning, her eyes were filled with anticipation, disappointment, and finally, calmness. He knew that she had given up on him. He saw the human girl named Rita. She had the same red curly hair and fair skin as Catherine. Even her brown eyes were similar to Catherine's dark golden eyes. Thus, he converted her. In the dead of the night, he would treat her as his fiancée and deceive himself. Rita was too smart. She could tell that he had feelings for Catherine. Even she was attracted to him. He chased everyone away angrily. He wanted everyone who had feelings for Catherine to disappear. However, he could secretly get rid of those who had feelings for her. But what about the people Catherine liked? No one told him what to do. He looked at her and the human named Lancelot and smiled at each other. Finally, he could not hold it in any longer and blurted out the feelings that he had hidden for thousands of years. What he got in return was her surprise and disbelief. That's right. He laughed at himself. Based on what he had done in the past, who would dare to believe that he was sincere? He was not willing to give up, so he proposed to compete with that human. In fact, he regretted it as soon as the words left his mouth. Such despicable behavior was unlike him. That man did not disappoint him. A human could actually possess such great power. He was worthy of her. Since he would never be able to give her happiness, then he would give her his blessings. He told himself to let go, but why did his heart, which had long been numb, hurt so much? That man was dying. He knew that no matter how strong he was, a human's lifespan was limited. However, he didn't understand why Catherine didn't change him. He had a premonition that if that man left, he would never be able to see Catherine again. Sure enough, she lay down and never woke up again. From then on, he alone guarded the entire blood race until the end of time. Chapter 174. Gu Xingyin looked at her current situation. System, I think you should explain. System, in this mission world, the host's original body, Shen Xiaoxiao, got into a car accident 2 years ago when she was on vacation. Her parents died on the spot, and Shen Xiaoxiao also lost the ability to stand up and walk. Gu Xingyin, System, the system recommends the host to choose the self-healing ability of the blood breeds from the previous world. Gu Xingyin laughed, don't tell me, you already thought about it. Although she said that, she also knew that the system's suggestion was the most suitable for her at the moment. She couldn't really bear to sit in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. Closing her eyes, Gu Xingyin began to receive the system's transmission of the world storyline. Ever since the car accident, the original Shen Xiaoxiao's temperament had changed greatly. She became cold and didn't like to talk. Not to mention going out, even her former friends had all cut off contact. At the beginning of this year, the latest holographic MMORPG, Spirit Sword Fairy, seemed to have opened the door to a new world for her. In the game, she could freely walk and run like a normal person. No one would look at her with sympathy or pity. Because she was willing to spend money and time in the game, Shen Xiaoxiao's in-game ID was Luo Mu Xiao. She could be considered a famous expert in their server Riverside Immortals. It was just that this expert was very cold. This was the impression the entire server had of her. She didn't have any friends in the game, until that woman appeared. That ID was Xiaolu Yenyu, and she was obviously a newbie. That day, Luo Muxiao passed by the novice village and saw Xiao Lu Yenyu running away pathetically from a group of low-level monsters. She remembered that she wanted to refine a weapon. Coincidentally, there was a material that could be dropped from these monsters, so she took care of those monsters. Little did she know that Xiao Lu Yenyu would pester her from then on, insisting on worshipping her as her master. Shen Xiaoxiao refused to look at her countless times, but she didn't give up. It wasn't until a month later that Luo Muxiao finally relented and accepted her as her disciple. Lu Yenyu was lively and liked to act like a spoiled child. Every time Shen Xiaoxiao saw her, she would think of her own ragdoll cat, Tuesday. Although she didn't like to talk and had an introverted personality, once she acknowledged someone, she would treat that person wholeheartedly. She brought Lu Yenyu to do quests, helped her to get equipment, helped her to forge weapons, everything a master could do, no one could do better than her. She felt that she had at least met a true friend in the game. Until one day, she heard a conversation between Lu Yenyu and another player. He didn't know if Lu Yenyu was careless or if she forgot to turn on private chat. I wasn't wrong, right? Luo Muxiao is someone who lacks love in real life. Give her a bit of warmth, a bit of sweetness, and she'll be like a dog that smells a bone, clinging on to you and not letting go. Lu Yenyu said proudly. Yenyu, you're amazing. Ha ha ha, I'm still missing a spirit rhino stone. Tomorrow, I'll go look for my good master and act like a spoiled child. Shen Xiaoxiao was practically running away. Luo Muxiaoxiao's heart wasn't very good to begin with, and the car accident before caused her body to suffer quite a bit of damage. In a fit of anger, she actually went into shock. Then, Gu Xingyin became Shen Xiaoxiao. In Gu Xingyin's eyes, this Shen Xiaoxiao was a bit too sensitive and fragile. If it was her, she probably would have killed that bitch with a single slash of her sword. But she had gone through a great change, so her delicate and sensitive personality was understandable. Xiao Lu Yenyu, right? Shen Xiaoxiao repeated the name twice, coldly laughing. Chapter 175. Gu Xingyin thought for a long time before she found a mirror in an inconspicuous corner. Ever since she left the hospital, Shen Xiaoxiao had asked the housekeeping company to remove all the mirrors in the house. Gu Xingyin had to search through her memories to find this side. He reckoned that the original owner of this body had forgotten about it. The girl in the mirror had the kind of delicate and beautiful facial features that were unique to southern girls, but her pale and dull complexion and lifeless eyes had shaved off half of her beauty. Gu Xingyin sighed to herself. Shen Xiaoxiao was also a person with a hard life. I will live through this life for you. System, confirm that I have inherited the blood-breed self-healing ability. Gu Xingyin ordered. The system's white light flashed, and a halo appeared in its body, slowly landing on Shen Xiaoxiao's body. In fact, it landed on Gu Xingyin's soul in Shen Xiaoxiao's body. Gu Xingyin felt a comfortable feeling spread throughout her body, as if the heavy and powerless feeling in her body had disappeared without a trace. However, a sour and numb feeling came from all parts of his body, especially his legs. She knew that this was the effect of the self-healing ability, but this feeling was indescribable. System, how long will it take to completely heal all the diseases in this body? Gu Xingyin asked. The system said, with Shen Xiaoxiao's body condition, half a month for the other parts of her body, but a month for her legs. Gu Xingyin said, please help me block all perception. She was not in a hurry to enter the game. She looked around the house. Shen Xiaoxiao's family was very well off, and after the car accident, she received a large sum of compensation. It could be said that even if she did not do anything for the rest of her life and only spent money, she could still live a carefree life. She was now living alone in a high-end duplex bungalow. This was where the family of 3 used to live. After Shen Xiaoxiao's parents passed away, many people tried to persuade her to move to another place so that she would not be sad, but Shen Xiaoxiao insisted on not moving. Gu Xingyin didn't have a problem with living here, but she had a problem with the decoration of the whole house. Was it really okay for a young lady in her 20s to make her room look like a 70-year-old auntie? As far as the eye could see, there was not a single bright object in the entire room. It was no wonder that Shen Xiaoxiao would become like that. Even a normal person would probably become reclusive after staying in such an environment for a long time. Gu Xingyin spent a whole week contacting housekeeping companies and shopping malls to renovate her room. Her legs were inconvenient, so she had been living on the first floor. The upper floors were still the same as before the accident, so there was no need to renovate them. The housekeeping company's auntie, who often came to Shen Xiaoxiao's house to do part-time work, smiled happily. "Miss Shen, how many times have I advised you that young people should be more energetic? You've finally figured it out." Gu Xingyin was very grateful for the auntie's kindness. She smiled and said, "Auntie Liang, you're right. If I stay like this, my parents will be very sad if they know. I want to live happily so that they can rest assured." Auntie Liang looked at her and could not help but tear up. Her children were about the same age as Shen Xiaoxiao, and for more than a year, every time she looked at Shen Xiaoxiao's appearance, she felt very sad. Fortunately, the girl had finally walked out. Chapter 176. After settling everything, Gu Xingyin picked up the gaming helmet at the bedside. She was actually a little curious. Holographic online games did sound very magical. A white light flashed and Gu Xingyin found herself on a green grassland. She could even see a few butterflies flying among the flowers. She tried to walk 2 steps. It was very agile, almost no different from living in the real world. The technology of this world had already developed to a very powerful stage. At this time, she heard a constant beeping sound beside her. At the same time, a delicate voice was heard, "Master, where are you? Master, I am stuck at the one-line sky. Can you come over? Master, are you there? Master, are you offline? I am learning how to refine equipment. I am still missing a spiritual rhino stone. When you come online, can you help me get one?" Gu Xingyin glanced at it. They were all messages from the same ID, Lu Yenyu. Without saying anything, she cleared the screen. Following the route in her memory, Gu Xingyin came to a place. This was a hell difficulty instance. Previously, Luo Mu Xiaoxiao was stuck here for 2 days. Not only Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, no player in the server had been able to pass this level. Luo Mu Xiaoxiao's job was a swordsman. Her appearance was very ordinary. She had white hair and black hair. Behind her back was a 3-foot-long sword. Her appearance was also not outstanding. In this game, players could adjust their appearance by 100%. Most players adjusted their appearance. Only Shen Xiaoxiao, who did not take the normal route, chose to adjust her appearance by 100%. Thus, in general, Luo Mu Xiaoxiao's appearance did not look outstanding at all. She tried to slash monsters. The first time, after 2 rounds, Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, pounce. The second time, after 10 rounds, Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, pounce. On the third time, Gu Xingyin was more or less familiar with the game. Holographic online games had high requirements for the player's reaction speed, agility, strength and so on. Many of the experts in Linjiang Immortal server were born in the army. However, what could be more familiar with swordsmen than Gu Xingyin, who had lived in the world of swordsmen for thousands of years? Therefore, on the 4th try, after more than 10 minutes of fighting with the boss, Gu Xingyin managed to clear out the boss HP with a beautiful slash. Announcement: Player Luo Mu Xiaoxiao has killed the world boss Bull Demon King, completing the server's first kill and achieving a heaven-defying achievement. She is rewarded with a celestial weapon, Water Dragon Roar. The world channel instantly exploded. Playing Chopper again, what the fuck, I soloed Bull Demon King. I can't even last 3 rounds. falling tree rustling is awesome. Cute, immortal equipment. There are immortal artifacts in this game. I'm still wearing my gold equipment, and the god is already using his celestial equipment. Piglet, I thought that the first kill would be Mountain River Sword Guru. Fleeting observation, when did Luo Mu Xiao Xiao become so awesome? I've had a PK with her before. She doesn't seem like someone who can kill Bull Demon King. I only look but don't speak. Upstairs, Luo Mu Xiao Xiao must have been going easy on you. Mountain River and I were preparing to kill Bull Demon King in the dungeon. When we saw Luo Mu Xiao Xiao, we waited at the side. I was bored so I recorded it. Take the link. No need to thank me. I'm not talking anymore. I'm going to kneel and lick her for another minute. The world channel was silent for a few minutes. Then. Fleeting observation, fuck, 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 fuck. Thank you, Almighty, for your mercy. Chapter 177. Gu Xingyin looked at the chat log and searched nearby. Sure enough, she saw a few people standing nearby. I only looked and didn't speak. Seeing that Gu Xingyin had discovered them, he rushed over with a howl, "Great God, fallen tree deity, from today onwards, you are my idol." Gu Xingyin glanced at him and didn't say anything. She turned around and left. I only looked and didn't speak. Great God is indeed as cold as the legends say. Fallen tree deity. A cold voice called out to her, "Are you interested in a PK with me?" Gu Xingyin stopped in her tracks and saw the man who spoke. He had the same white clothes and black hair, but he was much more gorgeous than fallen tree deity's simple appearance. Gu Xingyin noticed that there were dark lines on his collar and sleeves. From time to time, there was a flash of dark light. He was so particular about playing a game. Presumably, this person was also someone who wouldn't compromise in real life. His appearance was very handsome. For Gu Xingyin to comment on him like this, his appearance was indeed very outstanding. However, due to the game's appearance adjustment, it was unknown how much of his handsomeness was exaggerated. Gu Xingyin noticed his ID. Mountain River Single Sword. The server's #1 player on the PK leaderboard. Gu Xingyin raised her eyebrows, sure. Coincidentally, she also wanted to see what kind of standard the normal players in this game were at. The two of them arrived at the arena. Almost at the same time, they drew their swords. I only looked and didn't speak. I was dazzled. Swordsman was the most popular class in Spirit Sword Fairy. Who didn't dream of traveling the world with a sword when they were young? Moreover, swordsman's style and moves were the most stylish in the entire game. Of course, the requirements for the players were also the highest. Mountain River Single Sword was recognized as the strongest swordsman in the server. Many players even thought that he was the #1 swordsman in the entire server. He was also the #1 player on the PK leaderboard. Although Fallen Tree Deity was strong in the past, she wasn't a match for Mountain River Single Sword. But now, you let me win. Gu Xingyin nodded at Mountain River Single Sword and turned to leave. The #1 Blade Master in the server was indeed very strong. This time, the Mountain River Sword did not stop her. Beep. Gu Xingyin opened the virtual page. Player, Mountain River Sword, has requested to add you as a friend. Gu Xingyin thought about Shen Xiaoxiao's character and refused without hesitation. But in the next second, beep. Player Mountain River Sword has requested to add you as a friend. Gu Xingyin refused again. Ding. Player Mountain River Sword has requested to add you as a friend. This time, Mountain River Sword added a sentence, I received a hidden mission. I need to add you as a friend before I can form a party. Gu Xingyin hesitated for a moment before agreeing. On the other side, Mountain River Sword smiled helplessly. He never thought that there would be a day when he would be despised by someone. He even had to find a reason to add someone as a friend. Not good, the players had already noticed the change in the PK leaderboard. One Sword of Mountains and Rivers, who was originally high and mighty, silently moved down a position. And the position of number 1 was occupied by Fallen Tree Deity. Little Moon like Little Millet, oh my god, the unchanging number 1 on the PK leaderboard has been challenged. Who is this Fallen Tree Deity? Cursory observation, upstairs, you haven't been online for the past 2 days. Who is Fallen Tree Deity? Go to the forum and click on the hottest post. You'll know. Playing Chopper again, Fallen Tree Deity is too fierce. First, she killed the boss, Bull Demon King. Then, she challenged Mountain River Sword. If it wasn't for the fact that this game can't change gender, I wouldn't believe that she's a woman. Girl is me, Chopper, what do you mean? Are you looking down on women? Come to the arena and PK with me. Chapter 178. In front of Gu Xingyin stood a pink-clothed lowly. Above her head were the words, Xiao Lu Yenyu. She was Shen Xiaoxiao's cheap disciple. She was a dancer. Everyone knew about this class's attire. Xiao Lu Yenyu's appearance in the game was very good. Her figure was also very good. She pouted and acted cute. Most male players couldn't stand it. She looked at Gu Xingyin with admiration. Master, I didn't expect you to be so strong. You actually defeated the number 1 player on the PK leaderboard, Mountain River Single Sword. Gu Xingyin coldly called her, Xiao Lu Yenyu. Xiao Lu Yenyu felt cold. Although Luomu Xiaoxiao was usually cold, she always called her Xiao Lu. This was the first time she called her by her full name so seriously. She inexplicably felt uneasy. What's wrong, master? A message popped up, gathering and parting will eventually happen. Don't force fate. Luomu Xiaoxiao has forcefully removed your master-disciple relationship. In Spirit Sword Fairy, there was a setting that Gu Xingyin was very satisfied with. That was, in the master-disciple relationship, the master had the dominant position. If the master wanted to remove the master-disciple relationship, even if the disciple didn't agree, as long as they spent 1,000 gold, they could forcefully remove it. But the disciple didn't have this authority. Master, why? Xiao Lu Yenyu seemed very sad. She looked at Gu Xingyin with tears in her eyes. Gu Xingyin only said one sentence, Luomu Xiaoxiao is someone who lacks love in real life. Give her a bit of warmth, a bit of sweetness, and she'll be like a dog that smells a meat bone, clinging on to you and not letting go. You said that right? Xiao Lu Yenyu's face was pale. Master, listen to me. Gu Xingyin's face was cold. Oh, you explain. I'm listening. Xiao Lu Yenyu. Gu Xingyin didn't guess wrong. She just habitually pretended to be pitiful. This matter couldn't be explained at all. Xiao Lu Yenyu saw that acting pitiful didn't work, so she stopped pretending. What's wrong? Am I wrong? I only gave you a little benefit, and you took the bait. If it wasn't for you, how could I have leveled up so quickly? Tell me, aren't you? Before she could finish her sentence, she was sent back to the novice village by Gu Xingyin. This matter was not over yet. Gu Xingyin tore a teleportation scroll and squatted at the respawn point. She camped the corpse and began a forced PK. For a person like Lu Yenyu, how could dying once be enough? She wanted to turn Xiao Lu Yenyu white. However, in Spirit Sword Immortal, players who were forced to PK could not take the initiative to go offline, unless there was an external factor that forced them to go offline, for example, a power outage or someone taking off their helmet. They simply could not refuse. Moreover, it was a forced PK. Every time a player died, they would lose a level, and they would lose a random piece of equipment. Even the items in their bags would not be spared. Gu Xingyin played a total of 60 PK matches, no more, no less. Every time you die, you lose a level. Lu Misty Rain happened to be level 60. Everything that Lu Yenyu had taken from Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, she wanted her to return them all. The current Luo Mu Xiaoxiao could be considered a famous person in Linjiang Immortal's server. Her every move was watched by people. Now that they saw her killing a level 60 smurf at the respawn point, they all gathered around and gossiped. Seeing this, Lu Yenyu scolded in the world chat, "Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, do you still have any shame?" The dignified number 1 player on the PK leaderboard, a level 90 expert, actually forced a level 60 smurf to PK with me. "I know you're jealous that I'm prettier than you, but you're going too far. Everyone, come and judge for yourself." Luo Mu Xiaoxiao forcefully removed my master-disciple relationship for no reason, and then she inexplicably forced me to PK. Gu Xingyin admired her ability to turn black into white. Fortunately, she had a backup plan. Chapter 179. Many of the onlookers actually believed him. "A little yellow duck, I don't think so. Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, you have the demeanor of an expert." Waves flying up, "Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, I didn't expect her to be this kind of person. The girl is so pitiful. A girl is me, why should a woman make things difficult for another woman?" Playing Chopper again, I have a feeling that the Almighty isn't that immoral. Lu Fengyu, bah. What great God. She's just a slut who can't bear to see others better than her. Our Yenyu treated her so well and always thought of her as her master, but in the end. Mountain River Sword, the clear one knows his innocence, I just smiled and didn't say anything. For Lu Yenyu, look at my ID. Playing Chopper again, was that Mountain River God? What do you mean by that? Help Luo Mu Xiaoxiao. Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, there's a link to the forum. Go take a look yourself. Playing Chopper again, Guru Luo Mu Xiaoxiao actually spoke on the World Channel, requesting to combine. Luo Mu Xiaoxiao's usual posts were pitifully few. Many people actually went to the forum to look at the links she posted. Gu Xingyin had a backup plan. She had set up a recording of their conversation. Lu Yenyu had never thought that Luo Mu Xiaoxiao would play such a trick. Based on her understanding of Luo Mu Xiaoxiao was definitely the type of person who disdained to explain. This time, she was in deep trouble. It was the Mountain and River Sword that surprised Gu Xingyin. He was actually speaking up for him. Playing Chopper again, fuck little Lu Yenyu, you're actually this kind of person. I've finally seen what it means to be shameless and invincible. If it were me, I would have done the same to you. Little moon like little millet, wait, it's so lively. What did I miss? Quick observation, girl, you're so cute. You're always half a beat slower. Let's go to the forum. A little yellow duck, Guru, I was wrong. I apologize. For a woman like Lu Yenyu, it's not too much to turn her white. Waves flying up, Guru, I was wrong. I apologize. For a woman like Lu Yenyu, it's not too much to turn her white. A girl is me, Guru, I was wrong. Not all girls deserve to be treated well. Xiao Lu Yenyu is bad for life. Gu Xingyin sat there leisurely. As long as Lu Yenyu revived, she would insta-kill her. Sigh, this feeling is really good. Mountain River One Sword was currently running a dungeon with just looking at me don't speak and the others. I just smiled and didn't say anything. Taking pleasure in his misfortune, I said, I really didn't think that God Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, who looks like a quiet and inarticulate person, would actually dig such a big hole for that woman Lu Yenyu. Serves him right. Mountain River One Sword thought of a certain woman who was expressionless but secretly turned on the recording function, and a smile flashed in his eyes. Being silent doesn't mean that you're brainless. A smile in the wind said, hey guys, I don't think Great God has joined a guild, right? How about we call the Almighty over? I've seen her play before. If it were a guild war, she would definitely be a killing machine. If you can do it, then that 5 poison thumb ring will be yours. Laughter in the wind was overjoyed. Boss, you're serious. You're not allowed to go back on your word. I'll go right now. Mountain River One Sword smiled indifferently. When have I ever gone back on my words? On the other side, Gu Xingyin successfully turned Lu Yenyu into a beginner outfit. Under everyone's admiring gazes and Lu Yenyu's resentful expression, she left. Offline, sleep. Chapter 180. The phone rang and Gu Xingyin picked it up. It was a close friend, Li Yu. Xiao Xiao, I'm in J City. Do you want me to visit you? Li Yu's voice was filled with caution. She couldn't be blamed for being so careful. She hadn't seen Shen Xiaoxiao since a year ago. Even if she came to Shen Xiaoxiao's house, she had never been able to enter. Okay, when are you coming? Gu Xingyin replied. Okay, Li Yu's words suddenly stopped. What did Xiao Xiao just say? My plane ticket is in the morning. I'll be there around 11 o'clock. She was a little excited. Okay. Xiao Xiao. Li Yu bent down and gave Gu Xingyin a big hug. She looked at her friend. Her complexion was good and the house was tidy. She didn't look like someone who was wallowing in self-pity. It seemed that Xiao Xiao had successfully walked out. The bigger surprise was yet to come. You haven't eaten yet, right? I can't entertain you here. Let's go out to eat. After eating, you can push me to the park for a walk. I haven't gone out for a long time. Okay. Li Yu hurriedly agreed. She was afraid that Shen Xiaoxiao would refuse to go out. The two chose a famous restaurant in S City. Young Master Mo, what are you looking at? Mo Tingyuan retracted his gaze. Nothing. The person who spoke just now curiously looked in that direction and only saw the back of a wheelchair pushing the back. Xiao Xiao, look at that person. He's so handsome. Li Yu suddenly whispered to Gu Xingyin. Gu Xingyin casually looked in the direction she was talking about. His facial features were elegant and his temperament was gentle and leisurely. He was indeed handsome. She felt that he was somewhat familiar. Gu Xingyin blinked. What a coincidence. She remembered. Wasn't this the Mountain River single sword? It seemed that he didn't adjust his appearance in the game. It was just that the ancient and modern clothes made Gu Xingyin unable to react for a while. Mo Tingyuan felt that someone was looking at him. He looked back and saw that it was the woman just now. Gu Xingyin did not feel embarrassed. She nodded at him generously and turned her gaze away from him. Mo Tingyuan was amused. It was rare to see a girl acting so matter-of-factly when facing him. His smile had successfully surprised Zhang Yang, who was eating. I say, young Master Mo. Did you see something interesting? Zhang Yang asked. This time, he saw Gu Xingyin's face and exclaimed, oh, so I saw a beauty. What a pity. He looked regretfully at the wheelchair under Gu Xingyin. Eat your food. Mo Tingyuan withdrew his smile and said indifferently. When the two people arrived at the elevator, Li Yu suddenly said to Gu Xingyin with a subtle expression, I'm going to the bathroom. Little Xiao, wait for me here. Gu Xingyin nodded. The moment Mo Tingyuan stepped out of the door, he saw the girl sitting alone in a wheelchair, waiting for the elevator. Her companion was nowhere to be seen. Do you need help? Out of curiosity, he walked over and asked. Gu Xingyin raised her head in surprise. When she saw that it was Mo Tingyuan, she smiled. No, thank you. My friend will be here soon. Just as she finished speaking, Li Yu walked over. Little Xiao, who are these two? Li Yu was surprised. Kind-hearted people. Gu Xingyin said concisely. Zhang Yang was amused by this adjective. Was this a line from a primary school textbook? Chapter 181. Liu came to S City this time for work, so she only accompanied Gu Xingyin for less than a day before leaving. The moment Gu Xingyin entered the game, she received a friend request from a stranger. She rejected him without even thinking about it. Laughter in the Wind waited for a day, and when Luo Mu Xiaoxiao finally came online, this was the result. Fortunately, he was mentally prepared. Since the great god didn't want to add him as a friend, he would say it in person. For the 5 poison thumb ring with heaven-defying attributes, he would go all out. Gu Xingyin was picking herbs in a valley, and when she looked up, she saw an aggressive beast tamer, rushing towards her. She thought that he was here to seek revenge, so she raised her hand and slashed out. Laughter in the Wind died. No way, great god, are you saying that no one can enter within 500 meters? Laughter in the Wind didn't revive immediately, but lay on the ground and wailed. The moment he opened his mouth, Gu Xingyin knew that she killed the wrong person. Sorry, someone asked me to settle a personal grudge here, and when I saw you, I thought it was. Gu Xingyin was a little embarrassed. After all, this was her responsibility. Laughter in the Wind then tore a scroll and revived on the spot. Great God, since it's a misunderstanding, then let him pass. Let me introduce myself, I'm Laughter in the Wind. Luo Mu Xiaoxiao. Laughter in the Wind's introduction was cruelly interrupted. He looked over unhappily, so many people. Looking around, there were at least 20 people on the other side, and it was obvious that they didn't come with good intentions. The great god said that he had a personal grudge to settle, and this was it. Was the great god planning to fight 20 people on his own? Although the people on the other side all hid their IDs and equipment attributes, anyone who dared to block Luo Mu Xiaoxiao would know that they weren't simple characters. I didn't expect that the great god, number 1 on the PK leaderboard, would actually ask for help. Obviously, the other side thought that Laughter in the Wind was a helper that Gu Xingyin found. Laughter in the Wind puffed out his chest, and just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted by Gu Xingyin. Step back. Gu Xingyin took a step forward and looked at those people. You're just a few sneaky fellows. Are you worthy of me asking for help? Laughing in the Wind, what the fuck, that's really arrogant. He likes it. Did Lu Yenyu ask you to come over? I originally planned to settle the score with her, but I didn't expect her to not give up. Cut the crap. Luo Mu Xiaoxiao, so what if you're number 1 on the PK leaderboard? With so many of us, I don't believe that we can't take care of you. Gu Xingyin said slowly, even if there are 100 pieces of trash, they are still just 100 pieces of trash. Laughing in the Wind felt that the great god was simply too crazy. Why did so many people think that she was low-key in the past? At this time, Gu Xingyin turned to look at him and said slowly, remember to record it. Laughter in the Wind, then Gu Xingyin moved. She did not hesitate in the slightest as she rushed straight into the middle of the crowd. With this kind of fighting style, if one's skills were slightly inferior, it would be an act of seeking death. But would Gu Xingyin seek death? She let Laughing in the Wind experience what was called flirtatious movement, what was called heaven-defying reaction, and what was called number 1 on the PK leaderboard. What the fuck? Laughing in the Wind's eyes were sluggish as he watched Luo Mu Xiaoxiao completely destroy the 20 people. Did the great god really not use cheats? Only when Luo Mu Xiaoxiao kept her sword and was about to leave did he wake up from his dream. Great god, I want to worship you as my master. Gu Xingyin coldly and heartlessly rejected him. You're a beast tamer, I'm a blade master. Laughing in the Wind, I can make a smuff. Gu Xingyin, just tell me your purpose. Laughing in the Wind. Alright, he remembered that he was interrupted when he introduced himself. Chapter 182. So you want me to join your guild? A smile in the Wind nodded. Okay. Great God, don't be in such a hurry to reject. Our chatting and laughing pugilistic world is the biggest guild in Linjiang Immortal. Almost half of the players on the PK leaderboard are here. A smile in the wind said as he reacted. Great God, what did you say? You agreed. A smile in the wind couldn't believe it. So simple. Gu Xingyin clicked on the request to join the guild. A smile in the wind immediately spammed the guild chat. Frowny face guild, a smile in the wind, great god Luo Mu Xiao has applied to join the guild. Guild, a smile in the wind, great god Luo Mu Xiao has applied to join the guild. Guild, a smile in the wind, great god Luo Mu Xiao has applied to join the guild. Guild, a smile in the wind, great god Luo Mu Xiao has applied to join the guild. Guild, I'll just look but don't speak, damn, who's spamming? Lunatic, what's wrong with you? Guild, I'll just look but don't speak, damn, great god is coming to our guild. Guild, a butterfly, Luo Mu Xiao. Isn't she always alone? Guild, Luo Mu Xiao, hello. Guild, a smile in the wind, hello great god, I'm beside great god. Guild, mountain river sword, welcome. Guild, a butterfly, welcome. Guild, a cloud made of rain, welcome. Guild, love to eat junk food, welcome. The entire chatting and laughing pugilistic world guild was queuing up to welcome the great god. Guild, a cloud made of rain, everyone look, there's a bounty on great god in the world channel. Everyone look at the world channel. World, announcement, brave men are bound to appear when there's a great reward. Bloody War offers a bounty of 10,000 gold for Luo Mu Xiao's head. Playing chopper again, damn, is Bloody War crazy? A little yellow duck, I'm guessing it's related to that bitch Lu Yenyu. Not long ago, someone saw Lu Yenyu and Bloody War's guild leader, Bloody War the world being very intimate. A fleeting glance, now it's getting lively. Bloody War is going all out for a beauty. A little yellow duck, great god guild is at a disadvantage. After all, Bloody Battle is such a big guild. Mountain River Sword, Luo Mu Xiao has already joined chatting and laughing pugilistic world. Announcement, the wind is blowing and clouds are surging. Strength speaks for itself. Guild chat and laughter in pugilistic world has activated Guild War mode against Guild Blood Wars. 3 days later, Stormhouse will fight to the death. Playing chopper again, fuck, the Mountain River Sword is indeed domineering. Fleeting observation, this is chatting and laughing world supporting Guru Luo Mu. Girls are me, why do I feel like I smell something fishy? Waves flying up, right now, I just want to know how big of a shadow Blood of the World has in his heart. Bloody Battle for the World felt a little stifled at this moment. His reason for placing a bounty on Luo Mu Xiao wasn't wrong. It was to support Lu Yenyu. Lu Yenyu was pretty and knew how to act cute, which greatly satisfied his male chauvinism. Furthermore, no matter how strong Luo Mu Xiao was, she was only one person. How could Bloodbath, the second largest guild in Riverside Immortals, not be able to deal with a lone ranger? However, no one had told him that Luo Mu Xiao was a person who chatted and laughed in the martial world. The reputation of the #1 guild in world of martial arts was not just for show. In the entire Riverside Immortals server, at least half of the experts on the PK leaderboard were in chatting and laughing world. As for the other half, they were separated by De and Xiaoxia's guilds. In terms of battle power, chatting and laughing world had thrown Bloody War behind by who knows how many streets. The worst thing was that Lu Yenyu's reputation was too bad. There were already many people in the guild who didn't like her. This time, because she wanted to go against chatting and laughing world, there were even a few managers who were dissatisfied with this. Chapter 183. He forcefully suppressed the voices of opposition and only felt a bit tired. Bloody War. A delicate voice came over and a pair of arms wrapped around his arm. Lu Yenyu looked at him pitifully. Bloody War, did I cause trouble for you? Bloody War was originally a bit irritated, but seeing Lu Yenyu's considerate appearance, he felt that Laughing World was making a big fuss over nothing. It's nothing. So what if Laughing World is the #1 guild? I, Bloody War, am not to be trifled with. Bloody War, you're so strong. Lu Yenyu's face was full of admiration as she snuggled into his embrace. Gu Xingyin was currently doing a hidden quest with Mountains and Rivers One Sword. This quest required 5 people. They were Mountains and Rivers One Sword, Falling Curtain Xiao Xiao, Smile in the Wind, Just Watching Don't Speak, and an ID called Unruly Wind. Gu Xingyin only took one look and understood that this was practically Laughing World's strongest lineup. The other 5 were all top 10 players on the PK leaderboard. Just Watching Don't Speak and Smile in the Wind didn't need to be said, they were just 2 chatterboxes plus jokers. Unruly Wind's personality was more silent. Other than doing quests, she almost never heard him speak. Falling Curtain Xiao Xiao and Mountains and Rivers One Sword were Blade Masters, Smile in the Wind was a Beast Tamer, Just Watching Don't Speak was an Assassin, and Unruly Wind was a Taoist. In short, their team consisted of 4 strong attackers and a healer. They didn't even have a tank. Smile in the Wind had once asked this question, and Gu Xingyin and Mountains and Rivers One Sword's attitude was surprisingly consistent: just kill your way through. Mountains and Rivers One Sword, alright, you 2 gods. Only you 2 have the right to say that. Reality proved that their words weren't wrong at all. Basically, the small monsters weren't much of a threat. Once the boss appeared, of Mountains and Rivers Smile and Fallen would Sigh immediately attacked it. After a round of strong attacks, the boss's health dropped by almost half. By the time I laughed without a word and Laughing in the Wind attacked it again, Gu Xingyin dealt another blow and it was over. Unruly Wind quietly stood in the background. He never felt that a healer was so unnecessary. Mountains and Rivers One Sword sighed, this is the first time I killed a boss so happily. Of course, he did not forget to record the video. Only in the last round did they encounter some trouble. Not only were the final monsters strong, but they also had insane amounts of HP. For Blade Masters like Gu Xingyin and Mountain River Sword, they had low HP to begin with. Furthermore, the 2 of them mainly focused on attack and agility. Basically, they would be defeated after 2 hits from the monster. Smile in the Wind and I just smiled and didn't say anything. It was slightly better for us to hold on for one more round. Fortunately, Unruly Wind was more powerful. After being in the background for so long, he felt quite sullen. Now that he finally had a chance to shine, he almost used his peak strength. Just like that, they finally whittled the monster down to 20% of its HP. Be careful, it's about to go berserk. Laughing in the Wind hurriedly shouted. As expected, the monster's body instantly flashed with a red light and entered berserk mode. Holy shit! Attack power and defense power are instantly increased by 30%. Do you need to be so perverted? Laughing in the Wind scolded. My pet can't even do anything to it. Laughing in the Wind was speechless. His pet only lost a few dozen HP when it bit the monster. Looking at the monster's 7-digit HP, he felt that his life was gloomy. Unruly, heal me. Get ready to heal me at any time. Gu Xingyin's eyes lit up. She looked at the monster eagerly. It just so happened that she hadn't used her newly learned chain kill yet. Chapter 184. The white-clothed female swordsman leaped up and unsheathed her sword. Slash, stab, slash. She attacked non-stop for 2 whole minutes. The white-clothed female swordsman was almost negligible compared to the monster. However, no one could ignore her, because every time she slashed down, a shocking red 5-digit number would appear. This attack is simply heaven-defying. The rest of the party members were dumbfounded. Only Unruly Wind barely remembered his quest, heal. Pooh! The monster finally collapsed and disappeared into a flash of light. When Gu Xingyin landed on the ground, he realized that he only had a sliver of HP left. Unruly Wind hurriedly cast a rejuvenation and recovered half of her HP. The others came back to their senses one after another. Laughter in the Wind said, "I'm impressed. Great God, I'm impressed." Gu Xingyin was actually quite tired at this moment. There was a feeling index in holographic online games. At that time, she didn't hesitate to choose 100%. In other words, if she was injured or died in this game, the feeling was almost the same as in real life. When she was insta-killing the monster, she almost died a few times. Fortunately, Unruly Wind was there, but the pain was real. Mountain River Sword looked at this woman with a burning gaze. The set of chain attacks that she had just used was practically the most perverted set of skills in the online game Spirit Sword Immortal. However, it was also the most difficult set of skills to execute. At least, before Gu Xingyin used it, there were hundreds of servers in Spirit of Sword Fairy, and not a single player could use it completely. Including himself. He was suddenly very curious. What kind of woman would be on the other side of this game? Let's go and see what dropped. Gu Xingyin said. Great God, you go and open it. Laughter in the Wind said directly. If this monster wasn't fallen tree Xiao Xiao, they might not be able to clear it. Gu Xingyin naturally had priority. Gu Xingyin didn't hesitate and opened the treasure chest. Unexpectedly, besides a large amount of gold, there was only one weapon. The appearance of a divine weapon. Congratulations to players Falling Tree, one Sword of Mountains and Rivers, I Just Smile But Don't Speak, Smile in the Wind, and Unruly Wind for completing the hidden stage Shadow Water Prison quest. Obtained the immortal artifact, Crimson Phoenix Cry. Crimson Phoenix's Cry, Immortal Tier Swordsman Equipment. The user's attack is increased by 20%, agility is increased by 10%, and there is a certain probability that it will absorb 30% of the opponent's attack and use it in the next round. It can advance. Gu Xingyin was surprised. These attributes were almost exactly the same as her Water Dragon Roar. Celestial Equipment. I smiled and didn't say anything. I was dumbfounded. Even if nothing else was dropped, the value of this immortal artifact alone was far beyond their expectations. According to the rules, if a team killed a monster, the loot would be distributed according to the player's class. However, there were two swordsmen here. I don't need it. Gu Xingyin took out her Water Dragon Roar. I already have an immortal weapon. At this moment, Laughing in the Wind came up and suddenly laughed mischievously, Water Dragon's Roar, Crimson Phoenix Cry. These names sound like a pair. I smiled and didn't say anything. I also came up, let me see, even the attributes are exactly the same. This can't really be a pair, right? Gu Xingyin, this hidden stage is about to close. Let's go out first. Chapter 185. When they exited the checkpoint, they were not surprised to see that the world channel was flooded with messages. Almost all of them were begging for guides. Laughter in the Wind didn't hide anything and directly uploaded a video. It was the entire process of them clearing the monsters. Oh right, I've also uploaded the video of you taking on 20 people by yourself yesterday. Smiling in the Wind said with ill intentions. Gu Xingyin gave him a good job gesture. What 1v20? Mountain River Sword suddenly asked. Laughter in the Wind was stunned. Did Mountain River have a change of heart today? Didn't he never care about these kinds of things? He still told him about what happened when he went to find Fallen with Xiao Xiao yesterday. It must be someone Lu Yenyu found. Moreover, among the people who surrounded God, I recognized a few of them. They were from Bloody Battle Guild. TSK. I've dealt with them for so long. Did they really think that I wouldn't recognize them just because they hid their ID? Laughter, what's the bet for tomorrow's guild war with bloody battle? Mountain River Sword suddenly asked. Laughter in the Wind was stunned by his sudden change of topic, but he still replied, 10% of the resources in the warehouse, 10% is too little. Change it to 50%. Mountain River Sword said faintly. Mountain River Sword was shocked, so ruthless. Bloody Battle wasn't a small guild with a few dozen people. As the second largest guild in Riverside Immortal, Bloody Battle had over 1,000 players. The items in the guild warehouse were shared by all players. 10% was not a small amount, but Bloody Battle could at least afford it. If it was 50%, Bloody Battle would probably suffer a great loss this time. We don't have any big grudges in the game. Let's leave some leeway. Laughter in the Wind hesitated. Do you think that if Bloody Battle loses 50% of their resources, those players will blame us for laughing pugilistic world, or blame Bloody Battle for offending us for a woman? Mountain River Sword asked him back. Laughter in the Wind thought for a moment, then his eyes suddenly lit up. You mean to say? Good Mountain River, you can break up Bloody Battle without shedding a drop of blood. You really are sinister. It was clear that Bloody Battle's resources were shared by all guild members. If they lost 50%, it would definitely hurt the interests of the majority of the players. And the reason why Laughing World of Martial Arts started the guild war was because of Lu Yenyu. Those players didn't have a good impression of women to begin with. If Bloody Battlefront sided with her, it was estimated that Bloody Battlefront would lose a lot of players. The few people present were all core members of Jianghu. When they heard this, their eyes lit up and they were eager to give it a try. Gu Xingyin also glanced at Shanhe One Sword. She did not expect him to be such a black-hearted person. In this world, as long as Lu Yenyu was unhappy, she would be able to complete her mission. The suggestion of the Mountain River Sword was to her liking. You're talking about the righteousness of Jianghu? They were competitors in the first place. Chatting and laughing in the pugilistic world was an open and aboveboard scheme. Who could say otherwise? After a few words of discussion, Laughing in the Wind suddenly laughed out loud. What's wrong? Why are you so happy alone? I smiled and poked him. Laughing in the Wind pointed at the World Channel. Weren't those people shouting for me to show them the guide? Now that I've given it to them, they're unhappy again. I smiled and didn't say anything. I glanced at him and scolded jokingly, I was wondering why you were so generous today. So you've dug a hole for yourself. Chapter 186. The World Channel was indeed filled with cries. You said that Smile in the Wind was hiding something. He didn't hold back at all and recorded the entire process of the 5 people fighting the monster. Everyone saw it very clearly, understood very well, knew very well how they passed the checkpoint. But, what use was that? First, you had to have a team of 5 people. This team of 5 people had to be in the top 10 of the PK leaderboard. Okay, although this wasn't easy, as long as you put in some effort, it was barely achievable. But, at the end, everyone wanted to explode. Just the final scene of the monster going berserk and Luo Mu Xiaoxiao rushing up to kill it was something that no one in the entire Linjiang Immortal server could do. It wasn't just the Linjiang Immortal server. Players from other servers were also watching on the forum, but no one could do it. Many people on the forum even questioned the authenticity of this video, suspecting that Luo Mu Xiaoxiao used a cheat. How could a player complete such precise maneuvers? The World Channel was also filled with discussions. Frowny face passing horse view flower, God is indeed a god. Langda Fiki, seriously, this Luo Mu Xiaoxiao couldn't have used a cheat, right? I've seen her previous battle videos. She's powerful, but definitely not to this extent. Sister Ismi, God is so handsome, God is so awesome. God, you're my idol. Xiao Lu Yenyu, Luo Mu Xiaoxiao must have used a cheat. She carried me for 2 months before, but her maneuvers weren't that powerful. Xiao Lu Feng Yu, yes, I want to complain about Luo Mu Xiao Xiao using a support and affecting the game's fairness. Someone really did report Luo Mu Xiao Xiao on the forum. Spiritual Sword Immortal Game Development Department. Using a cheat. A fair-skinned young man with black-rimmed glasses put down the cup in his hand. Are you questioning my skills? Luo Mu Xiao Xiao. He muttered, I want to see what kind of person can make people question her for using a cheat. What's wrong, Yangzi? A few programmers from the development department walked over. The person called Yangzi casually said, there's a player in the game who's said to have heaven-defying maneuvers. She's being suspected of using a cheat. Using a cheat? How's that possible? One of them sneered. With just the few of us, who can crack our stuff? At this moment, Yangzi had already clicked on the game video. The office was silent for a long time. To be honest, said a programmer. If I hadn't tested it myself, there would have been no way for a plugin to exist. This kind of technology, Yangzi couldn't help but take another sip of water. He exclaimed, this is a holographic online game. The few of us know best that the player's ability is linked to reality. Could this Luo Mu Xiao Xiao be a special forces soldier or an S-level bodyguard? The discussion on the forum ended with an official statement from Spirit Sword Immortal. The officials of Spiritual Sword Immortal stated that after rigorous testing, the game did not use any external monsters to assist the player. The technical department had also been keeping a close eye on this area and would not allow any player to take advantage of the situation. In other words, Luo Mu Ruxiao was really awesome. This video also garnered Luo Mu Xiao Xiao countless fans. Was she not beautiful enough? Everyone was a gamer, so it was fine as long as their skills were sharp. Could a face tank or insta-kill a monster? The managers of Chatting and Laughing Pugilistic World were too busy just reviewing the applications to join the guild. Not only the players from their own server, but many players from other servers had also joined the guild. They opened their alternate accounts to be closer to their goddess. The guild war with blood battling the world had also begun. Chapter 187. Talking and Laughing Pugilistic World's players had already arrived at Storm House. Blood Battle's players hadn't arrived yet, but there were quite a few players who came to watch the show. Dream of 1,000 years, as expected of the number 1 guild. Look at their formation. All the players are in groups. As long as they think about the 2 groups of healers and dancers healing and buffing at the back, the attackers at the front have nothing to worry about. Passing Horse View Flower, Talking and Laughing Pugilistic World's formation is indeed strong, but Blood Battle shouldn't be too bad either. Zio Chopper, come on, Blood Battle is strong compared to us, but compared to Talking and Laughing Pugilistic World, they're not on the same level. Blood Battle looked at the comments in the World channel and his heart was pounding. Damn Talking and Laughing Pugilistic World. Xiao Lu Yenyu looked at him worriedly, what's wrong, Blood Battle, is it very difficult? Blood Battle squeezed out a smile, don't worry Yenyu, Blood Battle, have never been afraid of anything. Xiao Lu Yenyu revealed a worshipful smile, I believe in you. Sister is me, look, Blood Battle's players are here. Easy little yellow duck, isn't that Xiao Lu Yenyu? She actually dares to come. Isn't she afraid of being attacked by God Luo Mu Zhao's fans? Zio Chopper, I think it's better to worry about God Luo Mu Zhao's fans attacking her than worrying about God Luo Mu Zhao's fans attacking her. After all, great God Luo Mu Xiao Xiao had personally said that the grudge between the two of them was temporarily written off. Xiao Lu Yenyu had better not appear in front of her. Otherwise, she would kill her every time she saw her. Passing Horse View Flower, when a woman gets hard, she's really ruthless. Sister is me, what are you talking about? I think God Luo Mu Zhao's true personality. If it was someone else, would you be able to remain calm after your own disciple said those words? Anyways, if it was me, I would definitely make her unable to survive in this server. Don't show up in front of me, Holy Mother. Zio Chopper, I support sister. Although I'm not a girl, Xiao Lu Yenyu is really too much. Gu Xingyin's mood as she looked at the World Channel's messages. Are you really going to attack Xiao Lu Yenyu? Mountains River One Swords question. Gu Xingyin revealed a rare smile. Of course. She's courting death, so how can I let go of such an opportunity? Mountain River One Sword was dazzled by her smile. He clearly had an unremarkable face, but when he smiled, there was an indescribable flavor inside. He had known Luo Mu Xiaoxiao for so long, but he had never seen her smile. So, you know how to smile too? The Mountain River Sword narrowed his eyes. Since this would make you happy, then, he looked at Xiao Lu Yenyu who was nestled next to Bloody Battle like a little bird. He lowered his eyes. I can only wrong you. The guild war soon began. Just as everyone had expected, even though Bloody Battle was strong, he stood no chance against Joking Vagabond. At most, he wouldn't lose too badly. However, many people's eyes were on Luo Mu Xiaoxiao. After all, most of them had only seen her figure on the forum. They wanted to see with their own eyes if this number 1 PK god was really as heaven-defying as the rumors said. Gu Xingyin didn't disappoint. With a flash, she directly rushed towards Bloody Battle's core camp. Was she going to take down the enemy's leader? The surrounding players were all excited. As expected of a god, her first move was so extraordinary. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.